The 9 till noon show. Good morning, Greg.
Thank you very much, Rory. A very good morning. See you tomorrow. It is just approaching 9 o'clock, so let's get a news update and cross over now to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. The Health Minister has been told that there is an unprecedented crisis in Letterkenny University Hospital's emergency department. At one stage yesterday, 10 ambulances were backed up at the ED. A statement issued by CELTA said that with an average of 120 patients presenting at the hospital daily over the past week, significant delays and pressure on bed availability was being experienced. Speaking in the Dáil last night on a Sinn Féin motion on health waiting list, Donegal Deputy Padraig McLaughlin once again highlighted the impact of a lack of investment in the hospital.
Today at Letterkenny University Hospital, there were 10 ambulances backed up at the emergency department. An unprecedented crisis in that department in terms of staffing. Morale is extremely low, and this is a build-up of a failure to invest in beds, nurses and doctors for far too many years.
At least 21 people have reportedly been killed and 112 wounded following Russian shelling in the eastern Ukrainian city of Kharkiv. The regional governor says homes were among the buildings hit. Moscow's urging residents in Ukraine's capital to flee, saying it will strike key security and communication services. Convoys of Russian armoured vehicles are edging closer to key Ukrainian cities as the conflict enters its 7th day. A former soldier from Northern Ireland who was deployed to Ukraine in 2015 to help train soldiers says the sight of war in the country is gut-wrenching. Ryan McCready is now a UUP councillor in Derry and is helping coordinate donations there.
The professionalism and that kind of stalwartness and the resiliency of the Ukrainian armed forces has really made me feel proud that they can stand up to this Russian aggression. Or on a personal level, I feel a bit of a cop-out that I'm not there to help them. But what I can do is be here in my constituency and push my efforts towards the humanitarian aid, and that's where I'd be better served in this fight.
There are big plans afoot for Bridgend, with a planned project set to significantly improve the road through the village. It's estimated that the Donegal Derry route facilitates more than 19,000 vehicles in both directions each day. The project is geared towards upgrading a 1.2 kilometre section through Bridgend and onto the border. A public consultation is due to take place on March the 30th in an Greenan Hotel in Burt. Cahirlock of Donegal County Council, Councillor Jack Murray, says the area is of huge strategic importance to the wider northwest region.
As we know, the A2, the dual carriage will be coming through Pennyburn on a Buncrana road. That's going to now link into Bridgend. We need to be prepared to see how that can adapt. If that road can widen, if we need to bypass it, or what can be done. So it's imperative that this decision is not just led by the local authority or by public authorities, but very much has the community say at its core.
Weather now, it will be a dull and damp day today with patchy outbreaks of rain and drizzle with highest temperatures of 6 to 8 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
We all deserve a better work-life balance.
But not all of us have the space to work from home.
Connected Hubs brings together flexible workspaces across Ireland on one simple website.
So you can quickly and easily find a hub in your local area.
It's everything you want from an office without the lengthy commute.
Meaning you don't have to trade quality of life for quality of workspace.
Give yourself space. Visit connectedhubs.ie or download the app to discover a hub near you.
Connected Hubs is part of Our Rural Future, a Government of Ireland initiative.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
And a very good morning to you. 3 minutes past 9 on this Wednesday, the 2nd of March 2022. How are you? I hope you're well. And hopefully you're with us now for the next 3 hours on the show. The lines are open for you right now. Caroline is answering your calls on 07491 25000, 07491 25000. And your WhatsApps and texts, they're into us at 08660 25000. There was more surveying being done over Donegal last night. A flight out of Birmingham, back and forwards across the north of the county, or the mid to the north of the county over Letterkenny. Lots and lots of you contacted me late yesterday evening wondering what's going on. We tried the last time, they were in Inishowen the last time, and couldn't get any details as to what's going on, or couldn't find out as to why they don't warn people or why they do it at that time of night, why it's such a... I mean, obviously we can understand why it's low flying, but why at this time of night? But we're unable to get answers, so maybe someone out there knows the answer. 086 60 25,000, but we know that it is surveying and it follows a very particular path, but beyond that, we don't know who's responsible for it, why it happens at this time of night, because it did disrupt a lot of people's sleep last night. Okay, let's look at the newspapers. The Donegal Post, outpouring of support to help Ukraine. Radek and Joanna Bosak, who own the Polish shop Sami Swoy in Bundoran, have been totally overwhelmed by the amazing generosity and help offered by the people of Donegal to the people of Ukraine over recent days since the invasion of the latter by the Russian Federation. It's a similar tale that is taking place in many other locations throughout Donegal, big and small. The Finn Valley Voice this morning, new accommodation at Cavan College will benefit Finn Valley. Funding of $3 million has been announced to build new accommodation at Chagask Ballyhays Agricultural College in County Cavan. Principal of the college, Finn Valley native John Kelly, says it's a fantastic opportunity for Donegal farmers and their children to have better accommodation. The Inish Times today reports that Donegal County Council and the Department of Housing appear to differ on whether the council informed the department that 5 houses in Buncrana had tested positive for mica before they were purchased. The department has said it was not aware that the 5 houses in the Cranla estate had mica during the purchasing process. In answers to a query from the paper, a spokesperson for the Department of Housing said the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage was not aware. But Councillor Jerry McMonigal, a member of the Council Housing Strategic Policy Committee, said it is his understanding from a verbal report given to councillors an SPC meeting in February 10 that the department was informed of all the tests that were carried out on Cranla houses. So that rumbles on there. The Irish Independent, terror in the cities, Putin rains death from the skies. It's just overwhelming, this news. It's very hard to escape, especially after what we've been through. And of course, that is in no way to not understand exactly what Ukrainians are going through. Russian forces escalated their attacks on crowded urban areas yesterday, bombarding the central square in Ukraine's second biggest city and Kyiv's main TV tower in what the country's president called a blatant campaign of terror. Ukrainian authorities said 5 people were killed in the missile attack on the TV tower, which is a few kilometres from central Kyiv and a short walk from numerous apartment buildings. The Russians had said in a press release yesterday that they were going after these types of targets, and they said, if you're living in the area, clear out because it's going to happen. Dozens more were killed in other airstrikes across Ukraine. Meanwhile, a convoy stretching 64 kilometres consisting of hundreds of Russian tanks and other vehicles advanced slowly on Kiev in what the West feared was a bid by Russian President Vladimir Putin to topple Ukraine's government and install a Kremlin-friendly regime, if that is his game plan. We understand from reports that it has stalled somewhat because there are supply issues in terms of food and petrol for those Russian forces there. Staying with that story in the Irish Times, the European Parliament voted overwhelmingly on Tuesday to condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine and support its European ambitions in an extraordinary session during which President Vladimir Zelensky delivered a searing address to the chamber by video link from the front line. The English language interpreter struggled through sobs as he related Mr. Zelensky's words to the gathered MEPs. Many of these were draped with Ukrainian flags or held up signs expressing solidarity with the embattled country. And there was a particularly strong, during a press conference in Poland, a particular strong argument put to Boris Johnson by a Ukrainian journalist for a no-fly zone to be imposed over Ukraine. But of course, we do know what that would lead to, don't we? The Irish Daily Mail, thousands of Ukrainian refugees will arrive in Ireland within weeks, with hotels, holiday homes and spare rooms being prepared to accommodate them. Minister for Foreign Affairs Simon Coveney yesterday outlined that around 6,000 refugees are initially expected to seek sanctuary in Ireland. This reminds me very much of talk of spare rooms for Syrian refugees going back a number of years, and the mood in the country seemed to change. I wonder will it happen this time. It's understood hotels will be preferred short-term housing options, but Mr. Coveney said yesterday that the humanitarian effort will probably involve families who are willing to open up their homes. His statement came as the world watched on in horror and fears that Vladimir Putin wanted to reduce the city of Kiev to rubble. And that seems to be what his plan is. He's done it before, and it looks like he's going to do it again, very, very, very sadly. People under the age of 21 should not be allowed to buy e-cigarettes, vapes or other tobacco products, the Royal College of Physicians in Ireland claimed yesterday. This is in the Irish Daily Star. It's carried in a number of papers. The RCPI made a submission before the Joint Committee on Health in relation to pre-legislative scrutiny of the Public Health Tobacco and Nicotine Inhaling Products Bill 2019. Professor Des Cox, a consultant in paediatric respiratory medicine at Children's Health Ireland, said e-cigarettes and vapes should have the same restrictions as cigarettes and other tobacco products. He said the minimum age for the sale of tobacco products should be 21, and there is a lot of younger people vaping in school toilets and all that kind of stuff, and special alarms and monitoring is having to be done to try and crack that down. The Irish Daily Mirror, horrific story here, this one. The Garda who was viciously beaten and doused in petrol is unable to recall what exactly happened in the attack. It emerged yesterday. Senior investigators who are hunting for at least 2 men involved have spoken to Garda Podrick Scott. The officer, who has been the victim of 2 previous assaults in the line of duty, is struggling to remember much after being struck across the head in County Cavan. His attackers also pulled a gun on him. As Saul said, it's very traumatic for anyone to have suffered such an assault, and the injured Garda was left in a very disoriented state. Garda Scott, 29, has been discharged from Sligo University Hospital and is understood to be recuperating from his ordeal at home. Now, investigators believe he saw a car acting suspiciously near the border village of Black Lion just before 2 a.m. on Monday. When he intervened, the thugs produced the weapon, beat him and doused him in petrol near Loughan House Open Prison. He managed to raise the alarm. The accelerant wasn't lit, as far as I could determine. But a very distressing experience for sure. Very worrying too. And the Irish Sun this morning, journalists last night welcomed a major reform of Irish defamation laws that will scrap juries and aim to crack down on massive payouts. Justice Minister Helen McEntee yesterday got Cabinet permission for the shake-up. For years, there have been calls to reform the 2009 Defamation Act and the big awards that can result from libel cases. McEntee has now pledged to bring forward new legislation this year to address the crisis. A review of the Act hasn't recommended caps on damages, but does propose scrapping juries for High Court trials. Instead, a judge alone will assess defamation cases, which is hoped will reduce excessive awards, the length of hearings and legal costs. News Brands Ireland, the representative body for Irish news media publishers, last night welcomed the proposal. I've never heard of them. Well, that's a bad one on me, but anyway. All right, 08660 25,000. We've lots coming up on the programme. We want you involved to raise your issues, to have your comments as well, of course, and bring us good news as well as important, maybe less positive topics. 08660 25,000 is the WhatsApp, also the text number.
I used to play football here when I was a schoolgirl. Now I'm here coaching the next generation. Being a Garda means thinking quickly, being active and loving the excitement of not knowing what's around the corner. But it also means working as part of a team, guiding young people and helping keep people safe. You'll have plenty of skills that could help you be a Garda. You might not know what they are yet, but they're there. Apply to join as a Garda trainee by the 16th of March at publicjobs.ie. On Garda Síochána, the difference is you.
Your Lancome free gift is waiting for you at McElhinney's. Simply buy 2 Lancome products and receive the ultimate beauty routine. Your gift includes a full-size rose sugar scrub, a 7-piece travel set including many of your Lancome favourites. Plus, choose from our Absolute or Hydrozen skincare collection to complete your gift. Exclusively in-store and online at mcelhinney's.com until March 13th.
Is your water safe to drink? If your water tastes unpleasant or has a foul smell, it may be a sign that something is in your water. Brothers Tech Donegal provide a complete private well water treatment service using the best water treatment equipment to meet your needs. Or maybe you drilled a new well and the water isn't satisfactory. At Brothers Tech, their expert team will also service existing problematic systems. If you're concerned about the quality of your water, call Brothers Tech on 087 638 7057.
Mike Denver in concert with guests Ray Lynham and Brendan Shine at the Inishowen Gateway Hotel Buncrana on Sunday, March 13th. Tickets at hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie. That's Mike Denver with guests Brendan Shine and Ray Lynham at the Inishowen Gateway Hotel Buncrana, Sunday, March 13th.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. We welcome onto it now Connor. Good morning to you, Connor. Oh, unfortunately, that's a slight technical difficulty there. Spotify still playing on my Zoom computer. I don't know what's going on. Okay, can you hear me, Connor, I wonder?
Yeah.
Okay, lovely stuff. Thank you for that. Right, okay, Connor, what are your concerns as it relates to the railway crane in Fawn?
It should have been returned to Fawn.
What is it? Can you describe to us what it is?
I was kind of left it. I would have left it.
All right, stay where you are, because unfortunately your line is not fantastic, but we can bring in John McCarran, PRO of West Inishowen History and Heritage Society, and we'll give your connection a chance to recover. John McCarran, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can, Greg, yes.
All right. You, as I mentioned, you're PRO of Western Inishowen History and Heritage Society. So can you give us just a bit of a background to this railway crane and its history in Fawn and its removal?
Yeah, well, it's a railway crane. It was used to lift cargo onto the paddle steamers that ran from Fawn Pier to Rathmullen and Ramelton in the early part of the 20th century. It belonged to the Lochswilly Railway Company. It was used to service the steam paddle steamers. The company itself was owned by the crane itself and pier was owned by several different companies up until 1877. It was taken over by McCrae McFarland in 1878, I think. And when they formed the Lochswilly Railway Steamboat Company, the services between Fawn, Ramelton, Rathmullen and Port Salim. The paddle steamers would have had names like the Lake of Shadows, the Inishowen, the Kate, the Aberfoyle. They all docked at Fawn. The pier where the crane once sat was constructed in 1922. The crane was used, as I said, to lift goods to and from the steamships, the paddle steamers, onto and from the railway wagons, which ran out until right to the pier's edge. Prior to that, there was another pier in use up until between 1868 and 1920, and it was on this pier in 1879 that the Swilly Board agreed to put a 2-ton crane on Fawn Pier. The pier was destroyed in a gale in January 1920, and a new one was constructed. So, in the meantime, they used Buncrana Pier. But in 1923, the Steamboat Company purchased it. It was purchased by the railway company for £7,000, and 1952, the LNLSR terminated the lock services and they sold their interest to Browns of Inch. So from then on, Browns ferried people, the well-known fishermen from Inch, they ferried people across the Lochswilly.
It's rich. It's got a rich history. It's in Inishowen history too. Well,
yeah. I mean, I'm PRO of West Inishowen History and Heritage Society, and our mission statement is that we're dedicated to preserving local heritage. And I mean, we were surprised to learn that the historic pier crane at the end of Fawn Pier was, that had been removed and turned up in Donegal town now.
When did that happen, John?
Well, it was removed in late 2019.
Yeah.
It was noticed that it was gone, and inquiries were made through the Irish Times, a local newspaper here in Buncrana.
Mm-hmm.
And it was learned that it had been removed for public safety reasons. Now, there had been a storm, and it had taken on a slight tilt. The pier is now a series of wooden trestles. The pier itself and the platform of the pier is gone, but what is left is a series of wooden trestles. But anyway, after we made inquiries, the Donegal County Council told us that the structure supporting the crane is no longer fit for purpose, and in the interest of health and safety, in the interest of the health and safety of the public, the council had removed this crane. It is considered, this is what they told us at the time, it was considered that the crane has historical value and its re-erection will be considered at a suitable location.
And it ended up in Donegal Town, which is a lovely location, but in terms of the history and heritage, is it an appropriate location in your view?
I mean, look, we don't consider Donegal Town as a suitable location for an iconic piece of Inishowen railway history. You know, up until 2019, the crane was one of the last pieces of railway heritage still in situ. The track and associated works long since disappeared. This is part of the heritage of Fawn, it's part of the heritage of Lochswilly. It's a piece of transport heritage, it's social heritage, maritime heritage, and industrial heritage. A suitable site to relocate this crane would surely have been in Fawn. You know, given that the Greenway, which is the much vaunted Greenway, which is coming through Fawn, which by and large follows the historic LNLSR railway line, you know, the crane would have been an ideal point of interest along the way.
Well, pardon my ignorance. It didn't have to be on a pier. I mean, ideally, you would love it on the pier it was on, but if that's given way and this money that's being announced was not going to be used to repair this pier, it doesn't have to be located on a pier, does it? I mean,
no.
It could have been. I mean, there's an anchor in Donegal Town. That doesn't have to be out at sea, you know, so, I mean, it could have stayed in the Fawn area on display. It didn't have to be on the end of a pier.
Yeah, well, I think there's a lack of foresight, you know, a lack of planning maybe by whoever removed it or not, you know. I mean, like, these things need to be preserved. Now, I would just like to say, like, that we have, you know, Donegal Tidy Towns Committee are to commend it for the great work they do. You know, as a community volunteer myself, I appreciate the work and the level of commitment that volunteers put into their work. And Donegal Town, like all tidy towns throughout the country, are to be praised for, you know, in my opinion, it's one of the most important volunteer sections in the country. I mean, the work that they do in supporting local councils and you know, and the lift that it gives to the local community and tourists and you know, it feeds into a general sense of well-being if you come into a town and it's nice. So we have no axe to grind or harbour any animosity towards Donegal Town, tidy towns. They'll be committed for their efforts in every way, but we just feel that, you know, it's up to Donegal County Council maybe to find a way forward now, you know.
All right, I want to see if Connor can hear me more clearly now. Connor, are you still there?
Yeah.
Right, okay. You've been listening to John. I presume you agree with a lot of what he has to say. Why is this important to you?
I would have a big interest in the railways, so I would.
And you believe the place for this is in Fawn?
Yeah.
Or
somewhere near Fawn.
Yeah, where did your interest in railways come from, Connor?
Just a thing I just kind of...
Just caught your interest and that's that? Yeah, indeed.
Got on.
Yeah, okay, brilliant stuff. John, in terms of this pier itself, I mean, it's almost it's its centenary year. This maybe I'm being a bit soppy, but it has presumably it has historical significance. Is it beyond repair? Is it gone now at this point? Not literally, but or are there any plans or campaigns to have it restored?
No, the pier itself, as I said earlier, is a series of wooden trestles now, which is left. It's the infrastructure, the bare bones of the pier, if you like.
Yeah.
It's beyond repair, but what it does have is great interest among photographers. It seems to be a site where people can capture lovely sunsets. You know, and probably over time, a bit like maybe like Bad Eddie over in Maharaki Beach. While it's deteriorating, it still has its own charm.
Mm. Have you had any success in, you know, contacts with the council? You know, are they saying its permanent home is Donegal Town? Are they saying we'll look for an appropriate location around Fawn, or is that conversation just happening now? What's the story?
Well, we did flag it up with a couple of local Donegal County councillors, and it was raised yesterday with the council, and inquiries within the council to be ongoing. But, like, you know, we're a history society, you know, we're not really a campaign group or a Fisher Group. But while we would love to see it, obviously, in situ and fawn, I think it's really up to Donegal County Council to find a way forward, and I don't wish, as I said, to cause any animosity or bad feeling between us and our friends in Donegal Town.
No, I get that. I understand that. It's in its own history. And I get that. And I think people would understand that. Listen, thank you. Apologies, Connor, for the slight communications issues we are having on your line. But John, thank you for doing the heavy lifting there and giving us the background to this. And we'll make our own inquiries and see what the council has to say. But for now, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, take care of yourself. 086 60 25,000. Is that something you want to have a view on? 086 60 25,000. Or Caroline taking your calls now on 07491 25,000. Now, some of your comments here. What happens when Russia takes over Ukraine? Do all the sanctions keep going then, or what's the plan? It's hard to know. I presume it's going to take some time. That's where the diplomacy comes in. Other Western countries have done similar invasions and people forget quite quickly over time, it seems. Caller recently priced a hotel in Donegal for 2 nights, €370, then priced a holiday abroad in Portugal for 7 nights in a hotel for €290. Prices in Ireland are not for the people who work 9 to 5, and Irish hotels are pricing themselves out of the market. But they have a lot of overheads, and the wage structure here might be quite different in Portugal, and there's other factors as well. But look, a lot of people head to the sun for the very reasons you've just outlined. Quoted €900 for 2 nights mid-March in a hotel in Donegal. Got the same in another hotel for €250 with a free extra night. Okay, so shop around. Another caller says hotels are charging crazy prices. We can't travel this year for family reasons, so booked a hotel midweek for August. 3 nights for a family of 5. €950, 1 meal included. That's a lot of money. Okay. I'm not sure if you believe that to be good value. This is following on from the conversation we were having yesterday as it relates to Noel and Niall from Harvey's Point saying that hospitality is now a good career path people should consider. But this caller says, my son is a chef. He found that because of the ridiculous opening and closing of hospitality during the last 2 years, he found another job with no intentions of returning to hospitality. It's sad, but unfortunately he feels he's been cornered into leaving chef work. Thanks to Leo, Michael and co. Hi, Greg. Mihal, that is, of course. Hi, Greg. In relation to your conversation about people returning to hospitality in Donegal, we stayed in a hotel last week and it wasn't cheap, but my bugbear is that apparently the check-in wasn't till 4 p.m. The restaurant was closed and bar food only. The windowsills were dripping with water and radiators had to be bled for 5 minutes each on arrival at the room. So if you think that I'm going to pay €250 plus again for a mediocre double room, you must be joking. This is meant to be a 5-star hotel, just COVID rules, etc., to their own benefit to fleece the people. Another, hotels do the usual and price themselves out of the market. It's not often I get away. I tried to book a hotel this weekend and it was €300 for 2 for 1 night, B&B. I could only book 2 nights at the weekend. It's just not logical for a couple. And lastly, for now, seeing you were talking about hospitality, I have a pet hate about tea. A few times in the past week I had tea in several places and it was cold. They do not know how important it is to heat a teapot. Bitter tasting tea, it's not hard to rinse a pot out. Now, of course, in the wider scale of things, not a big deal, but have we lost the ability to present, quite simply, a cup of tea?
Dairy Gold. It's there for you first thing in the morning and waiting for you when you come home at night. To fill early starts with goodness and to bring a bit of warmth to your hands after a long journey home. To start your day on the right side of the bread and to finish it with a satisfying crunch. For early mornings, late nights and everything in between, the deliciously creamy taste of Dairy Gold spreads the goodness in more ways than one. Dairy Gold. Spread the goodness.
Are you tired of waiting for treatment or surgery? Did you know you can receive immediate treatment across the border under the new NI planned healthcare scheme at potentially no cost? Donegal patients are still being treated with us at Kingsbridge Private Hospital Northwest post-Brexit. The process is easy and our dedicated team will help guide you through it. So why wait? Contact us today to find out how you can skip the waiting lists and receive treatment in Northern Ireland. Visit kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com because life matters.
This is the new Toyota Yaris Cross, a new kind of SUV, a new point of view, new compact style, new spacious feel, and exclusively self-charging hybrid. The right choice for today. Get a new perspective with the Yaris Cross self-charging hybrid. Available now at Kelly's Toyota, Port Road, Letterkenny, or Drumby, Mount Charles. You'll never take a wrong turn with Toyota. Built for a better world.
Donegal Hearing Clinic, now open at Pier Road, Letterkenny and Buncrana, now offering state-of-the-art rechargeable hearing aids free with your PRSI. Also pain-free microsuction wax removal services. Call 074 91 88470 or donegalhearingclinic.ie. Life sounds brilliant with Donegal Hearing Clinic.
Now, you're very welcome back. Did you read that Brown Thomas is offering IV vitamin drip treatments at its new store in Dundrum for up to €950? This despite doctors and scientists raising serious concerns about potential health risks. The price of a basic hydration IV drip is €85, with an ADH drip topping the list at €390. There are also two premium 4 drips, or IV drips, beg your pardon, available for €500 and €950. Right, Dr. Kate McCann is founder of MDoc Health. Now, it promotes health education and health literacy for families. She joins us now. Dr. McCann, thank you very much for taking the time out this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
What do you think of this?
It's something that has arrived in Ireland basically last summer, and this Brown and Thomas thing is just, really brought it to people's attention. This isn't completely new to Ireland. It's definitely not new. It's been going on in the US, UK, and Australia since 2015, and it's usually been marketed as a real luxury or high-end product. It's usually promoted by fashion bloggers, fashion journalists, B-list celebrities, as kind of a detox fix.
And I mean, obviously, the reality is they're probably being paid to get this out there. That's exactly the channels you'd be going down if you wanted to boost your business.
Exactly. This is part of the celebrity wellness industry, and it's a multi-billion euro industry.
Yeah. I mean, people would not be unfamiliar, perhaps, with a hydration IV drip. People might often end up in hospital and be given one of those and come out feeling a bit better.
Yeah.
What's wrong with doing it sort of outside a hospital setting in Brown Thomas?
I suppose that would be is a couple of thoughts. One is you've still, when you get an IV drip in hospital, it's a decision a doctor and nursing team make, saying, look, this is the best option. You still always have the risks of, anyone who's had one will know, you have risks of bruising, risk of infection, and risk of something called thrombophlebitis. That's inflammation or irritation of the veins afterwards. In this case, you've also got is it exploitative? Are patients paying money or expecting a health benefit that actually isn't there? Some of the claims made on this are dubious at best. And it's important to notice that, the ASA, the Advertising Standards Agency in Britain, has clamped down on some of this before, when we claim that these drips are, for example, immune boosting, or that they can somehow make you thinner or make your hair grow. There's no published evidence that any of this, can make you better looking or have better health.
Yeah. It's a fad then. I mean, obviously, it's a money-making fad at the moment. Mm. Are you surprised at Brown Thomas associating themselves with this?
I am in a way. But then again, if we look in what the trend since going back to 2015 in other countries, beauty salons, fashion shows, and high-end hotels have also associated themselves with this. So Brown Thomas may see this as a natural luxury good to associate themselves with.
Mm. So can you see any benefit at all in paying privately for, I don't know what an NADH drip is, but that's €390. I mean, do you know what they're promising that might do?
I'm assuming that they are thinking it's going to do some sort of detox. I mean, there's no evidence for this. There's a lot of molecular biology research in this area, and for everything from diabetes to Alzheimer's, looking at these different substrates, but actually using in a therapeutic context. Again, it's also part of a larger nutrition wellness industry. Things like carnitine, for example, well used by athletes, used in diet aids. There's no evidence that carnitine does anything for athletic performance or weight loss. There's no carnitine deficiency in otherwise healthy individuals. Carnitine deficiency is incredibly rare, and yet it's constantly in nutritional supplements. So it's a natural crossover to also offer it in a IV drip.
I mean, if you feel you are deficient in something or you just don't feel right, firstly, you don't want to do anything that would avoid you going to see your GP, I presume. But, you get your blood screened, don't you? And if you are deficient in something, then you can take a supplement or change your diet or whatever it might be. I mean, do we know... I'm asking you questions as if it's your service, but I hope you understand where I'm coming from. Do we know if they're assessing in advance, if people are deficient in something, or they're just pumping it in one way or other?
They say they are, but I'm not sure about how rigorous the screening is. I haven't looked into that. But the question would be is, why, you wouldn't go and get a proper assessment with a GP in a validated lab with a holistic care plan if you do have a vitamin B12 deficiency, and then getting a quite cost-effective treatment with follow-up rather than paying for an infusion at an exorbitant rate with no follow-up and no holistic care. And, if you have pernicious anemia, that's a vitamin B12 deficiency, you should probably be getting a more of a health screen, looking at everything from your diet to whether or not you have a gastric problem, rather than paying €300 to €400 for a drip that you may or may not even need.
Yeah, and again, pardon my ignorance, these things aren't often quick fix things, I'd imagine. They're part of, as I say, maybe taking a supplement or changing your diet or making life changes. It can't be as simple as, a €390 drip session and then that's it. You're away. We've got you've passed your NCT.
Yeah, and I think these quick fixes, and one of the things that really bothers me of this one is the constant marketing of detoxing with this. And that this gives you an idea, and it's not on the advertising, but the implication is there that you should get one of these drips after a night out. The implication is all over this on the advertising and the conversation around it. And as if it will detox. It cannot undo the damage you have done by alcohol excess. It might ease your symptoms, but it does not remove toxins. It does not undo the alcohol. And the statistics are in Ireland, we know, are stark about alcohol misuse, abuse, and the end cost to our health system as well as our society. And promoting a product that promises in some way to undo that or detox it the morning after is ethically dubious, I think.
Yeah. Can you tell us what actually happens, not necessarily in the Brian Thomas setting, but even in a hospital setting? What procedure is done? What is an IV drip, for example? And where does it enter the body? What interaction does it have with the body?
So, and again, I don't know what their procedure is in Brian Thomas. I haven't been there, and it's that kind of facility I would work in. But when in a hospital setting, when we have to place a drip, we talk to the patient first. They give their consent that they're happy enough to proceed. We usually put a tourniquet on the. It's usually put in the arm. We put a tourniquet on the arm, help make the veins fill up and be more visible and full. And the area is cleaned with an alcohol swab, and then an IV cannula. It's a needle with a hollow, flexible tube is placed into the vein. The needle part is removed and a soft, flexible tube is left in the vein, and then it's connected to a sterile single-use tubing that's then connected to a bag of fluids that may or may not have additional medications or treatments in it, depending on what you're getting the drip for.
And why is that more effective than, say, consuming liquid?
It's not, and that's really important. We have a mantra in hospital: if the gut works, use it.
Right.
So IV hydration is used when the gut is not an option, and the same thing with nutrition. If the gut works, we use it. So IV nutrition and hydration is used when we have to bypass the gut for other reasons, or there's certain medications that are only have better accessibility IV. But again, that's in a treatment-based setting.
Okay, well, I'm not a doctor, but I can say if you want to avoid a hangover, don't drink. In terms of, making sure that we are as best we can, aren't deficient in certain, what's the best way for us to look after ourselves without having to go get an IV drip? Is it balanced diet? Is it regular visits to your GP?
Absolutely. So it's getting, there are health experts out there. I mean, if you're worried about your diet, your supplement, your absolute best resource is an Indie and CORU registered dietitian, either through the HSE or privately, or your GP, and that's a great place to start if you're worried about your health or deficiency.
Yeah, I just feel that sometimes this might be used by people who are avoiding going for medical help, that they might feel that they're doing something that they can tolerate, when really they probably need to go and get themselves checked out.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, listen, thank you very much. It's been very informative. I really appreciate it. Okay, take care of yourself. That's Dr. Kate McCann there, founder of MDoc Health, promoting health education and health literacy for families. Now, maybe you have been and got one of these treatments on your travels or in Ireland or wherever it might be. Did it benefit you? Maybe you're going listening to the doctor there and going, well, I did it and it worked for me. Let us know. 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts, or call 07491 25,000. Now, on Friday, when I wasn't here, there was the big launch, wasn't there, of a competition to win a holiday of a lifetime with us here at Highland Radio. So it's another fantastic draw. This time, you could be the lucky winner of a €10,000 travel voucher with $5,000 in spending money, 15,000 the value in total. It's in association with Atlantic Travel, and the lucky winner can choose anywhere in the world to travel. It may be an exotic, all-inclusive holiday to Barbados, travel route 66, or enjoy several city breaks across Europe. It's your choice. It's your opportunity to win that holiday of a lifetime, which for most of us, I think, is beyond us. This could be your opportunity. To win, all you have to do is buy a ticket at highlandradio.com, click on win a holiday and answer a simple question, then choose one ticket for £10. It gets cheaper then, 6 for 50 or 10 for 80 again. You can buy one for yourself, or maybe you want to get them as gifts. Closing date for entries is Wednesday the 13th of April, so a little over a month, and the draw will be live on this programme. If you buy a ticket before the 15th of March, which is a couple of weeks from now, you'll be entered into a draw before the big draw, courtesy of Sunway Holidays. We have a 1-week holiday for 2 people in Turkey for this October. That draw will take place on this programme on Wednesday the 16th of March. So if you have spare money and you want to be in with a chance to win, there you have it. Right, okay. We're joined on the programme now by Kieran Dunleavy. Kieran, no, unfortunately, I didn't take that line in on time. Caroline, you might reconnect me there. Before I talk to Kieran, Greg, in my opinion, there's no point in putting sanctions on Russia, because when things get really tight for them, China will just be too happy to step in and help them. After all, who was it that started COVID? The funny thing about COVID is that part of the plandemic, if this were to be planned, Russia had to be complicit in it, as would China, of course. But Russia had to be complicit in it, and I wonder if that was the case, why they haven't blown the whistle since. All right, Kieran Dunleavy joins us on the programme now. Kieran, thank you very much for taking the call. Tell us about this unveiling that's taking place later today, Kieran.
How you doing, Greg? Thanks a million for taking the time to talk to me. Yeah, the unveiling is going to be down at Burrito Loco. It's the sidewall of Burrito Loco down there in Letterkenny. And the inspiration for the mural is, just everyone feeling so helpless at the minute when you just see just something so unjust happening. I think we can all agree that nobody ever wants to see war on any scale, and it's just that feeling of what can you do. So I got in touch with Tommy, the proprietor, just to see if we could do something on the wall. So what I did was I painted, he's like a local Ukraine national who just decided to defend himself. His name is Zakar Nekifer. I probably didn't pronounce that right. And then in the bottom section you have Berinya, and she's the goddess of love and protection. It's that statue you see in Kiev, So it's just going to be done blue and yellow. And then we're going to have a vigil this evening at 5:30. Different people are going to speak, like Lady Oksana, and she's a Ukrainian national living there in Letterkenny, and she's going to give a very honest account of her family and the suffering of the people in the country over there right now.
You're a street artist, and street art is pretty impactful, isn't it? It can be impactful. It's just one of those things. It hits people. I don't know. Do you get where I'm coming from? It's just powerful. It's powerful is the word I'm looking for.
it has a power and it has a place, so it's something you have to do fast while things are out there, and it definitely has its place still, like you only have to look at Banksy and the power of what his artwork can do, and different street art. And there's great street art popping up on Instagram and different pages at the minute of different countries who are responding using street art to just anti-war and different things like that. So I just wanted to do something as quick as I possibly could from us here in Ireland, that we could send a message over to the Ukraine that we're supporting them, they have our support, so.
Yeah, and that image you talk of, the idea that someone in a European city would end up being handed, having their government handing guns to them and having to, send their loved ones potentially on a bus away to safety, and to stand there, probably don't even know how to load the gun, but prepared to do so in order to defend their country.
Yeah, it's incredible, and it really hit a nerve. And when I seen that video was from the New York Times, and it was shared to me it was Laura Murphy who shared it to me, and I was like, wow. And it just kind of hit a nerve when you can see young men and women just not even knowing what to do, and they're lining up and been handed guns. And it was one of the people from that I decided just to portray, because he had a great face, he was an actor or whatever, and you're kind of looking at people and there's like their whole lives and hopes and dreams. One day you just wake up and all of a sudden that is all gone to one side, and you have to take up arms and try and defend yourself. That's a situation I think nobody ever wants to be put in, and it's always kind of everyday people that end up in these situations,
And we talk about it, in a matter-of-fact kind of way, but it's really actually very hard to comprehend.
It is, yeah. That's kind of heartbreaking. That's why I kind of just stopped everything in my tracks, and I like, it all happened Saturday night, and it happened very quickly, and I messaged Tommy and I said, can we do something about this wall, and from that, you don't really know what to do, so you just do something, and from that, I went down, and the guys at Burrito Local, they said, right, we'll sponsor the High for Hire, and then Johnson's come in, they sponsored the paint, and everyone started to jump in behind it. And now what we're doing is we're going to have a vigil today at 5:30, and there's a lady there as well, Karolina Ostrowska, and she's from Poland, and she's a national, and she's coordinating the relief and humanitarian effort to people displaced and that are desperate need of help. So now there's something we can do. What we can start to do is we can start to donate directly to her, and she will make sure that any money or any, say if you want to say any aid or nappies or anything to help women and children, anything at all like that people want to donate on any level, or if businesses are willing to donate, higher amounts like that, everyone can do that. She's representing Donegal, so I think she's the only person representing Donegal to accept, help that way.
Yeah, I think there's other groups doing things in different areas, but I take your point, and the people of Ukraine, and as they arrive in Poland in huge numbers and wherever else they might be able to get refuge, they need all the support, because these are people that were living what we would see as perfectly normal lives a little over a week ago, with apartments and jobs and schools and all the stuff that we're familiar with, and then all of a sudden it is gone, and they find themselves in a neighbouring country or a country even farther away, separated from their loved ones. In 2022, it's really, I know it's going on in other parts of the world, and I referenced that yesterday, and there's awful things happening, but this is right now as well. And okay, so the mural is being unveiled this evening at 5:30. I think if people are struggling, if people in the area are struggling to sort of, find the words or what they can do or whatever, I think it's an opportunity for them to get together with other people and maybe try and get their head around things a little bit as well. There is a vigil there, and there's other art as well in terms of, I think, music, isn't there? There's musicians will be in attendance, and you're encouraging anyone who can get along to get along.
Yeah, absolutely. The more we can get down, the better. Anyone who has the free time, we'd absolutely love to see you there. It'd be incredible to just get some good numbers down, standing outside, and we send a clear message over to them that they have our help and support, And it is, as you're saying, I think it's hit everyone a lot as well, and it is terrible in other countries.
And also, I feel guilty, Kieran, about that. I actually genuinely feel, and it's not about my emotions, by the way, but I know what the Russians have done in other parts of the world. I know what the UK and America have done. I know what's ongoing at the moment. I know there are, what's happening in Palestine, but I think, as I say, I feel guilty because this has hit me harder.
Yeah, and people have mentioned that. They have mentioned that, and it's like one of my friends says, there might be time for the great rethink, about how we think about ourselves or how we react to something that's slightly closer to home. Is it react differently? Is it, people are questioning, is it race? Is it different things? They're asking them questions. But I always think, deep down, I think I'd be a very spiritual person, so I just think, like, if you get put into a position where you have to kill another person, like, I just don't think when it gets to that level, I think there's something larger than normal sin evil. Like, it's dark when that kind of thing happens, it could happen here, it could happen anywhere.
Well, this one thing is, this is demonstrated, like, I know for myself, it's got nothing to do with race or anything like that there. It's just, I don't know, maybe it's just simply closer to home, and it's just me being completely honest. Listen, Kieran, I look forward to seeing it. I haven't seen what you've done, and I'm sure there'll be a good turnout this evening at 5:30, just at Burrito Local there. It's on the Port Road in Letterkenny. Kieran, thanks for joining me and having a chat this morning.
No, it's great. Thanks, man.
All right, take care of yourself.
Thank you.
All right, that's street artist as well, Kieran Dunleavy there, 086 60 25,000. John Foy on Facebook rightly points out that, and this is why I sort of interjected, because there are other people doing lots of great things. I know there's stuff going on in Bundoran, and I think there's a couple in Ballabufey already too that are gathering stuff together for these displaced Ukrainians, or even if it can be gotten into, although as Russia is intent on surrounding Kiev to effectively, whoever's left is going to be stuck in there when the shelling starts. I don't think there's any talk of aid corridors, but we'll have to see. All right, then, back with more in a moment.
Text 086 60 25,000.
Discover the Dunnes Stores app and put better value at your fingertips. Tap to browse all our latest grocery offers. See all your 10 off 50 grocery vouchers stored in one place, and scan your Value Club card to earn points. All within the app, saving you time and money. Plus, download the app today and you'll receive a one-time 10 off 30 welcome voucher. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome voucher can be used on next grocery shop of €30 or more.
At Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, we are now operating out of one new state-of-the-art showroom in Donegal Town. And we invite you to visit our new 5,000 square foot Donegal Town showroom to discover the latest eye-catching designs. Remember, at Cherrymore, you're dealing directly with the manufacturer, which means high-quality kitchens at factory prices. Start planning your dream kitchen or bedroom by calling Cherrymore on 074 9725 822. Cherrymore, 25 years delivering value, quality and service all over Ireland.
Is the appearance of your staff important to your business? It's the first point of contact for customers when entering your premises. At C&M Embroidery in Letterkenny, they have a huge range of clothing covering all areas of the workplace. It's widely known that customers warm to and trust employees that present themselves well. Have your company name embroidered or printed on all your work uniforms. Contact C&M Embroidery on 07491 28097 and get your staff looking their best.
June 2022, August 2022, January 2023. Is that what you're hearing when inquiring about the delivery of a new vehicle? Guess what? That's not the case at Imotors. Call in today and choose your new car with immediate delivery available across our full range of Nissan and Kia models. Drive away in your new 2022 car. Call Imotors in Letterkenny and Malin on 07491 34567.
Okay, we welcome onto the programme now Councillor Micheál Colm-McGill-Naspa. Good morning to you. Thanks very much for joining us. It's good to have you with us. Right, tell us what's ongoing at Maharaki Pier. We're back to a situation where sand is building up there, and obviously that's complicating its use.
Well, without hogging time here, I suppose just a small background is that Maharaki is a busy fishing pier port. There's people working there full time in the fishing industry. There are a number of ferry services full time to Lanhari, and then during the season to and Inishbofin, couldn't think there, Inishbofin as well. And the people of Maharaki and the island community depend heavily on the pier for their livelihood.
And it traditionally would have been very regularly dredged, wouldn't it?
Yes, absolutely. The council has been dredging it since I can remember anyway, since I've come onto the council on a very regular basis. And unfortunately, for some reason, the wisdom of the government or the minister, who probably doesn't even know where Maharaki is, decided what they would do is that they would look for an impact study on it, and also as well as to look for a public consultation. This has been ongoing for a very long time. I submitted my own response to the consultation, and now what we've seen is that the government is delaying the report in relation to this. And while they're delaying the report, what is happening is that it's frustrating the fishing and the ferries who are trying to use Maharaki as their means of work, and the fishing or in the island community to get access. So what we're talking
until
about
such
now
time as we get this report, we don't really know what future then, in its traditional sense, there is for Maharaki Pier.
Well, look, at the end of the day, what has to happen here is that we need the pier dredged. We need it done immediately. There are only a number of times during the year that we can do this. That's in the Landmartin week or month, and the tide is out fully, and it gives you only a number of hours at best to dredge the pier. And the longer we delay it, the more sand is building up. The storms aren't definitely over. The more storms, the more sand. And I suppose initially when Maharaki was being extended, that pier was extended many moons ago. If the state had listened to the knowledge and the experience of the local community, maybe we wouldn't be in this position. What we need now is a number of things. We need to get the government to get off his arse and to allow the council to do what the council's there to do, is look after the Intisora community and dredge Maharaki Pier. We need also the government, again, to do what they promised that they would do for us a number of years ago, is to give us our seawall to stop the ongoing build-up of sand. And it's not just the build-up of sand that this wall would do. This wall has the opportunity and the potential to actually change Maharaki into a more developed and a more
usable for different vehicles for different vehicles at different times. Okay, well, we'll find out what goes on there. Listen, when you're on with us,
just before
quickly.
Sorry. One of the difficulties here is, and this is one of the big fears, especially for Cherrymore, is that now with the build-up of sand, one of the fears is that this ferry service, who delivers a good service to the island, can no longer give the full service that they want to give because they won't be able to swim in the water. And that has a massive impact on everybody's life. Need that be going to the doctor, need that be going to your work, or whatever everyday island life. And this is not acceptable.
All right, we'll chase that up as well. Often when you're on with us, you use the opportunity to comment on international matters. Just interested in your views on what's happening in Ukraine at the moment, this Russian invasion.
Look, it's very, very, very upsetting. There's nobody out there that isn't upset in relation to what's happening. It will have an impact right across the globe, and especially in us in Europe. Like all wars, there ain't no winners or losers in this here. There is no right or wrong in here. I think what has to happen is that the war has to stop.
What Russia's doing is wrong, isn't it, obviously?
Yeah, I think to invade a sovereign country is absolutely wrong, but I think the issue is far more complex than black and white, and I think what has to happen is...
But do you think in some way it's justified?
No. I think invading any country isn't justified. Yeah. We've been invaded ourselves, and we see it in relation to the 6 counties. We see it in Palestine, we see it in the Basque Country, and we see it in other countries throughout the world. But I think when you're talking about what's happening in Ukraine, and if you look at the role that the British government has had since 2014, the removal of a democratically elected government and replaced, and bear in mind that there is a very strong fascist element within the Ukraine government and civil service and the army. I remember when I was in Ukraine a number of years ago, there was a lot of discussion around, the future of Ukraine and where it was going, and in a relationship with Europe and a relationship with NATO. The vast majority of people I believed that I spoke to, it's all a small percentage, believe that they shouldn't join NATO. And I think what Russia is doing, and I'm not justifying it because I believe Putin to be a scumbag as well, is they're trying to build a buffer zone But what the West are trying to do is use Ukraine and use the people who are dying of Ukraine to look after the interest of the multinationals. These are wars that are being fought over resources. They're not wars that are fought over hunger and poverty. And I think what we as a state should do, and I think Simon Conway and Fine Gael, and we've seen Fine Gael going back a slight bit on a softer language. We need to stop the language we're saying. We need to look at our neutrality, secure our neutrality.
No, we're not neutral though. We aren't neutral.
No, but we need to be neutral. We need to be neutral.
Okay.
The vast majority of people need to be neutral in relation to this here. And I think what is hypocritical, and I'll say this very clearly, not yourselves, but I mean the national media in relation to the response to this year, when we look at the starving and the dying in Palestine, when we look at Somalia, look at the attacks in Syria, yet they're silenced. There are multinational shops out there now doing huge cartwheels at the moment, but yet these are the very shops who continue to sell the products of Israel, who participates, which contributes massively to the occupation of Palestine.
I understand that. But I mean,
it's
a strong argument, but it doesn't just help the people of Ukraine at this moment. But
No,
I understand where
it
you're
doesn't
coming
help
from.
the people of Ukraine at the moment. And I think it's a very complex, and I think what you have a great opportunity to do is to give a more balanced debate in relation to this, instead of this imperialist attitudes that are coming from.
But I mean, obviously, it's understandable there's going to be a focus on the immediate situation. But I take your point. Thank you very much indeed. Unfortunately, Micheál, I have to go because it's news time. We'll be back after the news and obituary notices.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the Highland Radio News Desk. The INMO is seeking an urgent meeting with senior management at Letterkenny University Hospital in light of dangerous overcrowding. In a statement this morning, the Nurses Union says staff, patients and the people of Donegal deserve better. Well, the Health Minister has been told there's an unprecedented crisis at the hospital's emergency department. At one stage yesterday, 10 ambulances were backed up at the hospital's ED. A statement issued by CELTA said that an average of 120 patients are presenting at the hospital daily over the past week. Significant delays and pressure on bed availability is being experienced as a result. In the Dáil last night, Deputy Padraig McLaughlin once again highlighted the impact of a lack of investment at the hospital.
Today at Letterkenny University Hospital, there were 10 ambulances backed up at the emergency department. An unprecedented crisis in that department in terms of staffing. Morale is extremely low. And this is a build-up of a failure to invest in beds, nurses and doctors for far too many years.
Ukraine's second largest city has come under fire from Russian forces this morning, with one official saying at least 21 people have died during shelling in Kharkiv. Russian paratroopers stormed a military hospital while missiles have caused damage to government and university buildings. Russian forces have reportedly moved into the centre of Kherson in the south and have taken over control of the region's railway station and port overnight. A Derry councillor, a former soldier who was deployed to Ukraine in 2015 to help train soldiers there, says the sight of war in the country is gut-wrenching. Councillor Ryan McCready is now directing his efforts toward coordinating aid locally.
The professionalism and that kind of stalwartness and the resiliency of the Ukrainian armed forces has really made me feel proud that they can stand up to this Russian aggression. But on a personal level, I feel a bit of a cop-out that I'm not there to help them. But what I can do is be here in my constituency and push my efforts towards the humanitarian aid, and that's where I'd be better served in this fight.
A South Donegal deputy has questioned if Ireland has done all it can amid the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. In the Dáil, Deputy Marian Harkin said Russia's invasion was premeditated and well planned. While Ireland announced sanctions on Russia in previous days, Marian Harkin is unsure if enough is being done.
I believe many of the actions taken by Ireland as part of the EU contribute to a strong response. But Minister, I have one question. I'm not sure if all the loopholes are closed. We know that money finds a way to move. Oil and gas finds a way to move, and it has to be paid for. So I'm just asking, Minister, genuinely asking, if we have done all we can.
There are major plans for Bridgend, with a planned project set to significantly improve the road through the village. It's estimated the Donegal Derry route facilitates more than 19,000 vehicles in both directions daily. The project is geared toward upgrading a 1.2 kilometre stretch through Bridgend and onto the border. A public consultation will take place at the end of this month in Ungrenan Hotel in Burt. The Cathaoirleach of Donegal County Council, Councillor Jack Murray, says the area is of huge strategic importance to the whole of the Northwest region.
As we know, the A2, the dual carriageway will be coming through Pennyburn on a Buncrana road. That's going to now link into Bridgend. We need to be prepared to see how that can adapt. If that road can widen, if we need to bypass it, or what can be done. So it's imperative that this decision is not just led by the local authority or by public authorities, but very much has the community say at its core.
Ballyshannon is to receive a share of €1.75 million in funding announced today for 13 historic towns under the Heritage Council's Historic Towns Initiative. €250,000 has been sanctioned for Ballyshannon in a bid to conserve the historic built environment. And MS sufferers in part of Donegal are effectively being left stranded by a lack of accessible transport. The Swilly Mulroy MS Support Group says it has a number of wheelchair users who have been unable to attend their weekly support group because of a lack of funding for accessible transport. The Milford and District Resource Centre has donated $1,200 from the Milford Development Fund toward transport costs for the group. However, the centre's manager, Declan Meehan, says that money is only a temporary measure. He says a more permanent solution must be found.
This donation is just a short-term fix, covering private transport and taxis that allow people with wheelchairs to get into them. But a national response is needed. Now, there has been CLAR funding announced to address this issue, and they are for voluntary groups. So we're working towards, I suppose, an application for that fund to service the whole Milford, Fanet, Roskill area.
Looking at the weather forecast, and Met Éireann tell us apart from a few bright spells in the morning, it'll be dull and damp with patchy outbreaks of rain and drizzle spreading from the south during the day. More persistent rain moving in from the southwest this evening. Highest temperatures today just 6 to 8 degrees Celsius in light to moderate southeasterly winds. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 11 o'clock. Until then, from the news team, good morning.
The obituary notice says for this Wednesday morning, March the 2nd. The death has occurred of Grace McGonigal, Gortna Seed, Kincashla. Her remains will be reposing in McGlynn's funeral home today from 4 until 6 o'clock, with removal at 6 o'clock going to Gortna Seed. Rosary both nights at 9 o'clock. House private from 10 o'clock until 10 o'clock and on the morning of the funeral. Funeral Mass on Friday morning at 11 o'clock in St Mary's Church, Kincashla, with interment afterwards in Crutch Cemetery. The death has taken place of Philip Doherty, 21 St Columba's Avenue, Buncrana. Funeral arrangements to be confirmed later. The death has taken place of James Jimmy Farn, Cashel Craw, Carndonagh, and formerly of Govan Hill, Glasgow. Funeral leaving his home on Friday morning at 11:30 for 12 noon Requiem Mass in the Church of the Sacred Heart, Carndonagh, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. House open, all welcome. Rosary each night at 8 o'clock, house private from 10 p.m. until 10 a.m. Family flowers only, please. Donations if desired to the Carndonagh Community Day Centre. The death has taken place of John P. McBride, Cronford. House private to family, neighbours and close friends only, please. Funeral arrangements to be confirmed later. The death has occurred of Colm Gallagher, Ballintemple, Fulcara, County Donegal. His remains are reposing at his late residence. Rosary tonight at 9 o'clock. The wake is private to family and close friends and relatives. Funeral Mass tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock in St Finian's Church, Fulcara, with burial immediately afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The Mass can be viewed live on mcnmedia.tv or Sweeney Funeral Director's Facebook page. The death has occurred of Annie Gallagher, Derry's Glenties. Remains reposing at her home with Rosary tonight at 9 o'clock. Funeral Mass in St Connell's Church, Glenties tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock with burial afterwards in the local cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. House private from 10 o'clock tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. The death has taken place of Bridget Hume, née Hagan, 6 Iona Park, Derry. Fiona from her home tomorrow morning at 11:30 for 12 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Columba's Church, Longtyre. Interment afterwards in the city cemetery. Family time please from 9 p.m. until 11 a.m. The Mass can be viewed live via the church webcam. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu of flowers if wished to Deeds, care of the Old Library Trust, Central Drive, Craigenderry. The death has occurred of Rose Irwin, née Quinn, Ballyarl, Kilgordon. Funeral from her late home tomorrow morning at 10:30 for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock in St Patrick's Church, Crossroads, Kilgordon. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live on the parish's Facebook page. The house is strictly private to family and close friends. The death has occurred of Patrick Porter, Ballinlock, Dumfries, Clonmany. His remains are reposing at his family home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:30, going to St Mary's Church, Cockhill for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, with interment immediately afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. House private to family, friends and neighbours please. Family time from 10 o'clock. Patrick's funeral mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. The death has occurred of James Gallagher, Cron Road, Kilcar. His remains are reposing at his home. Removal from there tomorrow morning at 10:30 for funeral mass in St Carthage Church, Kilcar at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in Kilcar Cemetery. The death has taken place of Philip Hurl, St Bowden's, Kildaff. Funeral from Collins's funeral premises, Kildaff, this morning at 11:30 for 12 noon Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church at Boken, Kildaff, followed by burial in the adjoining graveyard. Philip's funeral mass can be viewed live at kildaffparish.com. The death has taken place of David Mullins, Lighthouse Road, Armore Island. House strictly private to family and close family friends please. Funeral mass tomorrow in St Crone's Church, Armore Island at 12 noon, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The death has taken place of Kevin Harper, 1 Columkill Close, Kerrykeel, formerly of St Mary's Terrace, Ramelton. His remains are reposing at his home. Funeral mass tomorrow at 12 noon in St Columba's Church, Massmount, with burial afterwards in St Mary's Cemetery, Ramelton. House private please on the morning of the funeral. And the death has taken place of Mary McGee, Mary Bella, Maharaki, Gidor. Her remains are reposing at her residence. Funeral mass in St Mary's Church, Derrybeg this afternoon at 1 o'clock, followed by burial in Maharaki Cemetery. Wake private to family, close friends and neighbours please. Funeral mass can be viewed live on the Gillespie Funeral Director's Facebook page and on the Chop Hubblewara webcam. Family flowers only please. Donations in lieu of desired to Araski Door. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
And we're into the second hour of the 9 till noon show. But ahead of the bingo numbers for you, some of your comments. Can you help this listener? They're in Creaslough and they've had no Vodafone coverage since the 7th of February. They're wondering if anyone else is having the same issue. If it's not, it's worth maybe you need a new SIM card or taking the SIM card out, giving it a wipe, popping it back in. If it's an isolated issue, that sometimes can fix those problems. A caller says, sure, the council want to extend Killybegs and Burton Port and ignore the other piers. Watch and see, they say. In relation to Maharaki, the bigger concern is the need for a seawall for coastal erosion. The last storm had a big impact on the area. If the remaining piece of it goes, it'll destroy the beach, they say. Hi, Greg. Isn't it great that these tough leaders like Putin stay nice and cosy and safe while they send their foot soldiers in to die? Indeed. And on what premise? Do the soldiers really know what's going on and why they're being sent in and what is awaiting for them when they arrive? But yeah, that's the people that make the decisions are always well insulated. It's not just in war. Greg, in my opinion, there's no point in putting sanctions on Russia because when things get really tight for China, China will just be too happy to step in. I think I've read that one already. Hi, I've been waiting 3 years to have my heating looked at in Carndonagh Council Bungalow. Send lots of letters and phone calls. What do I do? They won't even return my call. It makes me feel it must be personal. Anyone have any similar problems? They want the council to look at it's the council's home, isn't it? Effectively, they own it. But they're waiting 3 years to have the oil heating the oil heating looked at, or whatever type of heating it is. What's going on there? A caller's son had a bug and went to a GP's office in Tenerife and was put on a drip in the GP's office and did not need to go to the hospital. Why can't GPs here in Ireland provide similar services instead of people having to go to hospital that are already overcrowded? Has the national news stopped providing the daily numbers of COVID cases in the country? This does not seem to be provided the last few days. Are they stopping this altogether? The bottom line is you are not... Very few people have to go for PCR tests now. It's only if you're over 55, pregnant, you compromise, living with someone who is. So the figures are meaningless, they're pointless, and they have been for quite some time. That's why I stopped doing the update. They weren't reflective of what the situation was, especially when you had a mixture of PCR tests and antigen tests. So the data is there, but it doesn't tell you anything because the vast majority of people who have COVID or suspect they have aren't getting PCR tests. Why does the railway go to Buncrana instead of Donegal Town? It doesn't belong in Donegal Town, it belongs in Buncrana. So it's not the railway. I get you, it's the item we're talking about taken out of Fawn. It would make sense. I don't know. I'm looking forward to hearing an explanation as to why it was located in Donegal Town, which has its own rich maritime and rail history, of course. But this item its home is in Inishowen, isn't it? Why is it all about the Russians, what the Russians are doing? What about the ongoing war for the last 8 years? What about the grave with 15 Russian children, which was found? There are two sides to this war, and Russia is not getting a mention. Just a wee question for your listeners. Prepay fueling pumps. I'm of the opinion that if I select 20 and my car holds 10, that the 10 will be debited from my card. No, it won't. I'll be... The 20 selected, that will be debited in my experience anyhow. Listen, I know that I've used the ones that you're talking of, and if I feel like it's going to take €25 to top up the fuel tank or whatever it might be, and put in 30, in my experience, it only debits whatever the car takes. It holds the card to make sure that you have enough for 30, but it doesn't even charge your card until such time as you replace the pump. That's been my experience. Greg, can anyone tell me why Dunfanaghy has no bus shelters? Last week and this week, I've left my grandchildren to the bus stop and only realised there is zero shelter. The weather there these last few days has been particularly rough. Surely every bus stop should have the basic, which is a shelter. And that was a big issue in other parts of the county. And they ended up getting provided. I haven't heard Dunfanaghy mentioned before. There's no reason why it shouldn't have a bus shelter. Anyone out there with an insight? 08660 25,000. I was in a hotel in Letterkenny at the weekend. Good. And the service, excellent. Staff constantly checking if everything was okay. Sometimes, though, if you're asked for the fifth time, does it bother you at all? Or the more they ask, the better? I don't know. We are still trying to track down what the situation is. Listen, it's no mystery other than we don't know precisely what this plane is doing. It flies from Birmingham. It's done it before. It was back and forwards over South Inishowen a couple of months ago. Then it went out to sea and turned its way back in again, following a very, very specific pattern. He was up again last night at about 10:30, 11 o'clock. It disturbed people because it's quite a noisy, propped, low-flying plane, and it was back and forwards across Buncrana. So whenever you're listening in Buncrana, probably heard it, north and south of Buncrana, and then north of Letterkenny, backwards and forwards. As I say, it's surveying, it's doing something, but we are still trying to find out what precisely it's doing, who it's doing it for, and why is it happening at night time, particularly presumably when it's calm. Lastly now, just before we go to the bingo numbers, I want to let you know that the Donegal Vintage Club is holding a tractor and vintage car road run. It's in aid of Rocco's Road to Recovery. It's on Sunday the 6th of March, this coming Sunday. It starts at Ray Community Centre at 1 p.m, registration from 11:30 a.m, and you can contact Hugo or Billy, and if you want numbers for them, we can pass them on to you. I don't think there's much point in reading them out without prior warning. But if you want to put it in your diary, Sunday, from 1 p.m, register from 11:30 p.m. It's the Donegal Vintage Club's tractor and vintage car road run. Some beautiful vehicles, will be there. And that's in aid of Rocco's Road to Recovery. Right, good luck to you today if you are playing the bingo. Here are the numbers for you.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Wednesday, the 2nd of March. You're playing on the blue sheet. The reference number is S3. It's game number 9. The numbers are 34, 13, 67, 18, 42, 77, 43, 62, 25, and finally 24. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
With passengers boarding for the holiday of a lifetime, please go
Highland Radio wants to send you on the holiday of a lifetime.
worth €10,000.
Plus £5,000 spending money.
Get your ticket now at highlandradio.com. Answer the question and start packing. Start packing.
Draw takes place April 14th on the 9 Till Noon show.
Get your ticket early and enter a bonus draw for an extra week's holiday in Turkey.
Two for the price of one.
Start planning your ultimate getaway. Only on Highland Radio.
New this week in Home Store and More. All bath mats are half price. But better hurry, because when all our half price bath mats are gone, they're gone. Also, all our plant pots and garden planters and all our frying pans are still half price. But when all our half price plant pots and garden planters and all our half price frying pans are gone, they're definitely gone. Order online before 2 p.m. for next day delivery, or drop by your local Home Store and More. Home Store and More. A happy home.
CarsIreland.ie presents When Car Buying Becomes Catfishing.
What do you think?
I wasn't expecting the interior.
You don't like it?
Well, it's a lot of leopard print.
Cheetah, actually.
Oh.
Cars Ireland isn't just fast and easy. We only work with trusted dealerships, so you can find the right car without the unwanted surprises. CarsIreland.ie. Click, click, vroom, vroom.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system, and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
We all deserve a better work-life balance.
But not all of us have the space to work from home.
Connected Hubs brings together flexible workspaces across Ireland on one simple website.
So you can quickly and easily find a hub in your local area.
It's everything you want from an office without the lengthy commute.
Meaning you don't have to trade quality of life for quality of workspace.
Give yourself space. Visit connectedhubs.ie or download the app to discover a hub near you.
Connected Hubs is part of Our Rural Future, a Government of Ireland initiative.
And you're welcome back to the 9 Till Noon show. Keep your calls, comments coming into us, or requests, by the way, if you want to say hello or happy birthday or anniversary to someone as part of our musical break at 10:30. Get them into us right now. Many of you continue to watch across our social media. Caroline says, as usual, it's the innocent that are sacrificed for the benefit of politicians and big business companies. And yes, we need more balanced information from all media, as this was a time bomb waiting to happen. And it's interesting in that, why did the West, in inverted commas, hand the initiative to Russia as they did? They knew what was coming. Their intelligence, the American intelligence in this regard, was very accurate. Why did they not, say, for instance, move NATO forces into Ukraine prior to President Putin's attack? Because what that would have done, of course, it would have taken the initiative, and he perhaps wouldn't have taken the action he did. There's lots of questions. Very little word about China, who are backing Russia and waiting quietly in the background to step in. I'm not sure they're backing them as such. I think they're not in favour of sanctions. They don't believe sanctions are working. And did they not abstain on that UN vote? I'm not sure. Okay, we'll check into that. Hi, Greg. Please can't get in to see their GP. People can't get in to see their GP. That's adding pressure to the emergency department. I also think an internal audit would need to take place on the hospital, as overcrowding in Letterkenny is an ongoing issue. Right. Hi, Greg. Can staff in retail shops be still made to wear masks? I'm not 100% sure of the answer to that question. It can be company policy, perhaps. When you say made wear them, I don't know. Hi, Greg. That man Michael is talking. It's me, Hall, is talking. Sense is right. It's very complex. Yes, President Putin should not have invaded without trying the very best to find a solution. I listened to a young Irishman speaking on radio last week from Russia. He'd only praised for his life as a teacher in Russia and felt the media were to blame for all the bad press in regards to Russia. Now, let's not forget, though, that Russia, the Russian government are very much in control of the news that the Russian people consume. And I referenced this last week. It's happening all over the place. But anyway, a caller says, people are so quick to forget Tony Blair and President Bush lied to the world when they invaded Iraq, telling the world Saddam had weapons of mass destruction. They are to blame for the killing of thousands of women, children and men being killed, all innocent, using cluster bombs, horrific destruction of their lands and home. What did the rest of the world do? Very little. ISIS was born. Ireland needs to remain neutral. Our country is such a mess. But are we neutral when you hear really, really strong language coming from senior politicians in this country? I mean, I don't think politically we aren't neutral. I don't think they make any bones about that now, but politically we are not neutral. Right, Fonzie O'Donnell's owner of the Tavern Pub and Restaurant in Mount Charles and O'Donnell's in Donegal Town. Fonzie, thanks for taking the call this morning, and a very good morning to you.
Same to you, Greg, not a problem.
Right, now, have you closed the tavern?
I closed the tavern on Monday night. Yeah.
And is it something you'd been thinking about for a while, or was it a snap decision?
We've been tossing around with it for a while now, because since we reopened again back in, I guess, the end of the year last year, it wasn't something that we were planning on. It was just something that kind of happened kind of quickly there in the end, because as you know, I have the place in Donegal Town as well, and staff was my biggest problem, to be very honest. I have to try and float my boat one way or the other, and to keep the two places going wasn't the option. Just wasn't there. I didn't have the staff to do it. So unfortunately, the decision had to be made, and I had to close Mount Charles.
Yeah, and staffing's one issue. What about people's socialising habits post-COVID? I think we all expected lots of people to go out when they could and that there'd be a big rush, but that seems to have, I don't know what it's like in every part of the county and country, seemed to die off a little bit.
Well, we didn't see that now, in fairness. We didn't see any rush of people after the doors opened, when we reopened again. But Mount Charles had been steady. I'm not closing the door basically because we didn't have customers. We had some very good, loyal customers.
But not enough, obviously.
Sorry?
Not enough.
Well, not enough. I think maybe we could have, there's an argument to be made that we could have been possibly maybe supported a little bit better, but that wasn't the only thing. I have accommodation out there in that place in Mount Charles as well. There's 9 bedrooms lying vacant upstairs, unable to turn the key or turn on a light in it as a result of dealing with the fire department. These are buildings that are 100 to 200 years old. They're asking you to comply with all the rules and regulations, and it's just not possible,
You simply could not justify that investment.
That's really why, Greg, every small town in Ireland has commercial buildings boarded up. People are not buying them because they can't afford to do the works that are needed to be done, and then to comply with all the rules and regulations. It's easier to just go out and build a new building or buy a new,
And I mean, as you say, this is not just the tavern in Mount Charles. We're seeing these important businesses that keep, that are an important part of the town. As soon as they start fading away, the town, I'm not saying this of Mount Charles, by the way, but the town can start to fade away.
Well, I mean, I think Mount Charles, I can only speak for Mount Charles because, I mean, there's plenty of other towns that, probably in a similar situation. Mount Charles really is, it's a town that's certainly, well, I don't want to say something that's, but it's definitely not a town that's there's a lot of empty buildings in it, and now there's another one added to it. So I don't know what to say. It's
did the bypass help or hinder the situation?
I don't know that because I didn't. I'm only in Mount Charles 4 years.
Yeah.
So I don't know what effect the bypass might have had on it. I mean, that happened every town, and still places seem to survive that. I don't know if that's the reason why it's quiet or whatever. There's no foot trade in Mount Charles.
Yeah, and
There's
obviously too,
totally
a big problem facing rural pubs now is if you go and have a drink, how do you get home? How do you get there? You know what I mean? You have to get a lift there, then you have to get a lift home. That's a huge competitive disadvantage.
Because I'm in this business for the last 20 years, and there's a big change in 20 years, but I suppose everything has changed and moved on in 20 years. I guess the drink driving and there's always those things definitely didn't help the business, but then COVID set in, so who knows?
How has Donegal Town fared post-pandemic?
Sorry?
How do you feel Donegal Town is faring post-pandemic in terms of busyness in the bars and restaurants and what have you?
I think it's going to be okay. I think Donegal Town's going to survive it, no problem, That's why I'm expanding here in Donegal Town, and that's why I had to sort of back off in Mount Charles because, I think I'm fairly positive about Donegal Town now at the minute.
Right. And do you own that premises or just leased it? Do you know?
Where is that?
In Mount Charles?
Oh, I own that.
So what are you going to do with it then? Because yourself, as soon as something's not being used on a regular basis,
that's a big worry. That's a big worry for me. I'm more than likely it's probably going to hit the market, and I'm not so sure that it's a seller's market, but I would say that's probably the route will be taken with it.
No, it's a big.
I don't see myself going back. I think I'm the type of person, or I think anyone, when you close a place, it's very difficult to kickstart and go back into it again.
Especially that a lot of the reasons for you doing so in the first place, they're not really going to have changed. So why would you go back flogging a dead horse, so to speak?
No, I mean, it's fair to say. Look at if your operating costs outweigh your turnover, then the choice is not yours. You really have to do something.
All right. Well, listen, we wish you continued success with your premises in Donegal Town. It's always sad to hear of a significant offering in a particular area like Mount Charles to be lost. But sure, maybe someone's listening and they'll want to take over, lease it off you.
There's got to be someone out there that's as mad as I am, and they'll probably take it on. But I'm very positive.
I wouldn't go into property sales, Fonzie, if I were you. Stick to the pubs. If someone's as mad as me, they might. All right. Anyway, listen.
Whatever.
Good man. Listen, as I say, continued success in the town. Sad to hear, but okay. That's Fonzie O'Donnell there, owner of Tavern Pubs, the Tavern Pub and Restaurant in Mount Charles, and O'Donnell's in Donegal Town. O'Donnell's, he's expanding that, but he has decided enough is enough at the tavern and it's an opportunity there. I'd say it'd be easy negotiated with on a lease by the sounds of things. All right, we'll be back with some music on this Tuesday. What morning is it? Wednesday morning after these messages.
Need a new part for your Ford car or van? Why not call to OMS Auto Parts in Buncrana? With a massive stock of Ford parts, you're sure to get the part you need. Free next day delivery on orders over €50. Call 074 9361924 or shop online at omsautoparts.ie.
There was a monster who lived in the trees, in the house that would rattle and shake in the breeze. It was cold and small, with a terrible leak that would drip on her head and her hands and her beak. She needed it fixed and all in one batch because she had an egg that was ready to hatch. So she went to the credit union for a renovation loan and got new windows, insulation, and extended her home. Monster loans from the credit union. Imagine more. Loans are subject to approval. Terms and conditions apply. If you do not meet the repayments on your loan, your account will go into arrears. This may affect your credit rating, which may limit your ability to access credit in the future. Credit unions in the Republic of Ireland are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Mike Denver in concert with guests Ray Lynham and Brendan Shine at the Inishowen Gateway Hotel Buncrana on Sunday, March 13th. Tickets at hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie. That's Mike Denver with guests Brendan Shine and Ray Lynham at the Inishowen Gateway Hotel Buncrana, Sunday, March 13th.
All children aged 5 and over are being offered a COVID-19 vaccine. Their vaccine will help to protect them, and the rest of the family too. The advice from the World Health Organization is that the COVID-19 vaccine is safe for children this age. So if you have questions about their COVID-19 vaccine, we have answers you can trust. For information and to book an appointment for your child, visit hsc.ie. From the HSC.
For great fuel deals, contact Gortley Sales and Hire. Large sacks and trailer loads of logs. Also briquettes, coal, kindling and gas with free delivery locally. Contact Gortley Sales and Hire in Letterkenny on 9126276.
Getting ready for the football season ahead. Visit Brian McCormick Sports and Leisure, Main Street, Letterkenny. Adidas Copa Sense football boots in soft ground and firm ground from only €80. Adidas Classics, Copa Mondial, World Cup and Kaiser Cup SG. Just arrived. The new Predator Edge .1 FG in black. Football boots, gloves, shorts and socks. In store or online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
Hello, Grace. Where are you heading?
Down to Made to Measure Fireplaces in Creasla.
Made to Measure Fireplaces? Didn't you just buy a fireplace there?
Yeah, but I'm going now to pick my kitchen worktop.
Create the kitchen and living room of your dreams at Made to Measure Fireplaces and Granite Worktops. They've been in business for over 40 years. So for help choosing granite or quartz for your worktop, fireplace or stove, visit the Made to Measure showroom at Cashel Creasla or see mtmfireplaces.com or on Facebook.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. It's the time of year when poor driving conditions are causing accidents. But did you know that a scratched wing or dent repair which needs a respray can only be done legally by a certified operator who holds a valid certificate of approval from Donegal County Council? The body shop or garage must display a valid certificate proving they have been inspected and meet the requirements of the Deco Paints legislation, best practice guidelines for vehicle refinishing and the Air Pollution Act. For an up-to-date list of certified operators, check the Council's website or phone us at 9153900. Donegal County Council, protecting the environment.
Save up to 25% on your shopping at Kelly Centra in Letterkenny. In store, you'll find a huge range of great tasting, own brand products, fresh produce, including fresh meat and frozen foods, along with all your day-to-day needs. Say yes to savings every day at Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Okay, now I want to say a happy birthday to Anne McDermott in Burnfoot from Liam and Bridget McLaughlin. They are in Buncrana. Please play a happy 7th birthday. Unfortunately, this is a little late. This was for Rory's show, but look, I'll play it anyway. Please say happy 7th birthday to Liverpool's biggest fan, Jay Connolly in Ballindrate. Jay's heading to Cloughvin National School this morning. He's already there. Have a great day from Mommy, Daddy, Hannah, Charlie and Heidi. Sure, look at Mom and Dad can play it back on the podcast if they want a little later on. Happy 70th birthday to Ellen McMahon in Trent. I hope you have a lovely day, Ellen. Lots and lots of love. Your favourite daughter, Karen. Okay, I wonder are there any other daughters listening that might contest that. And hi, Greg, can you please pay a big happy 40th birthday to Grania Gallagher from Carragard, our very own Gigi. Love from Evelyn and John. We celebrate at the weekend with you up the jive. Okay, well, you might not jive to this one, but anyway, it's a nice one. It's Bonnie Tyler. Okay, that was Bonnie Tyler there, Total Eclipse of the Heart. Okay, I'm joined on the programme now by spokesperson for the Finn Wheeler Cycling Club, Brian McElhenney. Brian, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Greg, and thank you for having me on the show.
No, it's our pleasure, and it's an important issue. Now, for anyone travelling between Ballybofey and Donegal Town, that stretch of road, they'll notice to really impact, and congratulations, by the way, on the way you conducted this campaign, because it is very impactful. Major signs on the approach of McCrory's Brae, isn't it? That's what we call it, Brian. Calling for hard shoulders, cycle lanes, whatever it might be, because there was a real missed opportunity. There was a new road built there, and for some reason the hard shoulders stopped at the bottom of the Brae. So, Brian, tell us what has driven you to your club to take this on board.
Well, Greg, McCrory's Brae is a well-known section of road between Ballybofey and Donegal Town, a lovely route. It's a national primary route, and what has driven us to launch a campaign is on the 2nd of October, a Saturday morning, a member of our club was cycling up McCrory's Brae and minding his own business, getting on with it, looking forward to a lovely cycle. He was 7 kilometres into his cycle when he was hit from behind. Quite serious injuries resulted. His bicycle was a mangled mess. And if you had seen his bicycle, you would wonder, how is that guy still alive? And anybody that witnessed, or sorry, not witnessed, but passed the accident scene, we're fearing the worst. And shockwaves went through our club that morning when the word came through that one of our members was involved in a serious accident. And tell you, it puts the frights on you when you see that.
Yeah, and I know you use the word accident because that's what we're conditioned to. But I mean, there are contributory factors here. One being, no cycle lane, no hard shoulder. As a driver, I've seen more near misses on that stretch than I have anywhere. And you know yourself, either going down the hill or just as people approach the hill, if there's a lorry there or a coach, the foot goes down and away they go. And very quickly they're met with traffic coming down the other way. That in itself is dangerous. You put a cyclist in the mix there that they're not seeing as they're approaching from either end, a lorry or a bus or a car having to make way for that cyclist. And you can see it's a recipe for a disaster.
Yeah, you've summarised it well, Greg. And you're sitting in a car, and that's what you're seeing. So imagine you're on a bicycle. Now, we're different levels of fitness within our club, but you're chatting about 12, 15 kilometres an hour as a cyclist. So inevitably, traffic is going to back up, and a car driver or a lorry driver wants to get past. They want to get up. They want to get on with their journey. A cyclist has nowhere to go. They're at the edge of the carriageway. A simple hard shoulder, I cannot understand, or anybody we've spoken to cannot understand, how is there no hard shoulder in that location, especially after millions and millions have been spent on that section of road. The work's just stopped halfway up the hill. And why was that?
And there seems to be also, now I don't know in terms of land ownership, but it seems when that road, it seems there is enough land, at least on one side, that has been worked on by TII or the council, whoever it is. In other words, there seems to be space at least on sort of the right side of the road as you head towards Donegal Town. There seems to be enough space there, if not on the other side, to accommodate a hard shoulder or a cycle path.
Yeah, there is land there, and even if there has to be a CPO, then CPO, it's like there's CPOs going on all over the country. Like, there's a safety issue here. Like that climbing lane, it's dangerous for all road users, and we're looking at it from the perspective of cyclists. And we take this as a warning. What happened on the 2nd of October as a warning to everybody. If we were to say nothing, we would be guilty, or we'd feel we haven't done anything by shouting and making a fuss about this. We need to get it started. We need now. The council or the TII have allocated 100,000 for road design. So let's get the road designed. Let's get it shovel ready. Let's get the diggers on site, and let's get the hard shoulder there.
Or cut the bureaucracy and just do it. Yep. Because often when we talk about the shared space, road users and cyclists, there's a usual conversation happens, but this is different. There's no actual real safe alternative for a cyclist. It's not like they could be using a cycle lane, but they aren't. This isn't about riding 3 or 4 abreast across.
Yeah.
A single cyclist on their own faces the exact same danger. So this doesn't live in the same space as previous debates we might have, Brian. There is no option. You couldn't even put the bike on your back and walk up the hill. Do you know what I mean? There's no other show in town. You have to cycle up or down on the main road.
Yeah, no, this is we've one agenda here. That is get this hard shoulder built on both sides. Like, it's equally dangerous on the other side, because as you're approaching from Donegal town, you have to pull out into the carriageway again. Obviously, you're going that bit faster because it's downhill, but it's an accident waiting to happen. An accident has happened. Thankfully, it wasn't fatal. The member involved is on the slow road to recovery. And
well, stay with me, because I'm not sure if it's Dean you're talking of, or
Dean. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
well, Dean is with us, and I appreciate, Dean, you sharing the story to drive home the issue we're talking about as much as you can. Can you describe the what you were doing on the day and how events unfolded for you, Dean?
Yeah, sure. So I don't remember too much, to be very honest about it. I left the house on Saturday morning, tried to reach bottom of McGorry's Braid. All I was thinking about is trying to get up the hill, and before I knew it, I woke up in hospital, and that's all I knew. Just as Brian was saying, there's no hard shoulder. You had to pull out onto the road, and you can go nowhere from there. And thankfully, I'm here to tell the tale. It was me in the accident, but it could have been anybody. It's a danger for all cyclists. So
tell us about your injuries, Dean.
Yeah, so I'm still undergoing rehab and physio. I had 2 bones in the back broke from behind, obviously, and the bike was damaged too. So thankfully the back's healed now. I had a rupture and tears in my left thigh, so I'm undergoing rehab and physio for that there. So I'm back up and walking, which is brilliant at this early stage. So,
but there is still, I mean, obviously the waking up in hospital, that takes a long time to get over to. The mental aspect of it too, doesn't it, Dean?
It does indeed. So I was very active before. I was out running and cycling, swimming, whatever, and to wake up in the hospital next day is pretty draining.
And the impact it has on your family. And with not knowing exactly whether or not you would be able to get up on your feet again. Now, you would have used this route reasonably regularly. Was it always a part of the cycle that you were nervous about?
Yeah, I suppose it would be. As I said, there's hard shoulders the whole way up that road, bar McGorry's Brae. So as part of the club, we would be in our groups anyway, and you'd be going over and back to Donegal town for a coffee. It's more an active thing and social thing. So it's probably more nervous than what I was before. Even there's a lot of narrow roads around Donegal you'd be nervous about, so I try and avoid ones with them now. So there's a big uptake in cycling anyway as you go through COVID with the gyms and the leisure centres closed. So there is a lot of people out there cycling at the moment, and just these fears, certainly a hard shoulder, even signage, to make people more confident about going out on bikes.
All right, Dean, listen, continued success in your road to recovery. We appreciate you talking about a difficult time in your life, but thank you very much indeed.
No worries, thank you.
All right, take care, Dean. And back to you, Brian, because, it must be frustrating as a cyclist, particularly in this situation, because what we're hearing from government is that we need to build the infrastructure for cycling, to promote cycling. It's good for your health. We need to make sure it's safe. And there's this glaring hole in safety that is this Brae. And it seems hard to make any progress on it, Brian.
Yeah, it's frustrating. After that accident, we we're in contact with politicians, councillors. Our secretary was busy sending out letters, looking for some response, and we just felt we're going nowhere fast, and we just felt we have to go public. We got to go loud with this. We got to get the signs up in that location. You just got to make noise, and we've got to see action, because it's when is it going to be safe, basically? And fair play to Dean coming on. That's his first time coming speaking publicly about this, and great that he's kind of on this recovery. But it was a terrible accident.
Yeah,
and,
stay where you are, because
yeah.
I mentioned earlier. Obviously, you're coming at this from a cyclist perspective, but I would not fancy that. I've seen so many times lorries, as I say, and coaches, where as soon as you get to the bottom of that brae, people are already across the road and bombing it up the right-hand lane, and it's often a lorry driver with presumably difficult. With gear changes and stuff, slowing and picking up pace, it's complicated. So let's bring in John McLaughlin, owner of JML Transport and Recycling. John, good to have you on the show again. Can you come at it from a lorry driver's perspective? Is it the cyclists that you have sympathy for, or is it uniquely, heavy goods vehicles using that part of the road feels dangerous as well?
Well, being honest, Greg, I was on before with the cyclist, and a lot of people, I got a lot of phone calls afterwards on, because I said I normally blow the horn about 400 or 500 metres before I go forward to the bikes, but a lot of people understood what I meant, because on a truck car, you could just drop a gear and put it out round in 2 seconds, where a truck, that could be carried 24, 25 ton. It takes me 2 or 3 minutes to get momentum up, to get around the bikes. And that's where I'm coming from. And I totally agree with what they're saying there. That corner is a very, very dangerous corner. On numerous occasions, I've seen foreign trucks coming down there, and you're just on the corner coming down, heading into Balbafay. Whenever the light flashes up, slow. Then they start braking. Then the car behind nearly runs into the back of the truck because the truck's braking. So I don't know why, for the life of me, they left that corner the way they did, and why they didn't. They put a footwalk another 100 metres further down, a 10-foot footwalk. You'll see it yourself every day when you pass. Just have a look at the next day. You'll understand what I'm talking about. The footwalk is about 10 foot wide, and there might be one person in that footwalk in 5 years.
So are you saying there's a footpath up the brae, is there?
No, coming to Balbafay.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, the road gets very narrow. That's another issue
very
too.
Narrow.
It perhaps is probably too narrow, if the truth be told.
I would love 2 Donegal County Councilmen to drive 2 lorries meeting each other to see how scary that is. And I'm not joking. I'm not an inch and a half, 2 inches away from the murder of a CAE bus, a lorry, and you really have to be concentrating. And then when you go up round the corner where the corner is that we're talking about, it's just, it's so dangerous, and it's something that has to be done, because the next thing on the radio show is going to be X person is going to be killed on that road. That's
what we're trying to avoid, John. Listen, thanks for your time this morning. I appreciate it. John McLaughlin there. He owns JML Transport and Recycling. Brian's still with us, and we're going to take into the conversation now a local public representative, Councillor Patrick McGowan. Why did, as much as you can determine, why did we can debate the work at Capri, that's for maybe a conversation for another day, but that great bit of road that goes out from the Donegal Road out to bottom of McGrory's Brae, and then it stops, the hard shoulders stop. That was a TAI decision, presumably. Patrick, have you any insight as to why they made that decision?
Yeah. First of all, the first funding that comes to that area was for a section in the middle, and that was to replace the very bad bridge there on the corner down just as you come onto the level ground there before Capri. So they got a project there, and then they extended that into the town. There was actually 7 million spent there.
That part of it's good. I mean, we can debate the width of that road, and if it slows maybe the buses and lorries down, maybe that's what it was designed to do. But more, head towards Donegal Town with me a bit further.
Yeah, no, as I say, the other section started in the middle and kind of worked out, and then the next section then was to be done was the McGrory's Brae, part of it, and that hasn't been forthcoming. Now, this has been raised several times by George Mullen, representing the transport sector there on roads policy, SBC, and myself for many years. There's been 100,000 allocated now this year for the design, but there still seems to be some disagreement within the TAA as to what should go up there, and this is a problem.
Give me the 100 grand for design. No, I'll tell you what to put up it. A hard shoulder up the left and a hard shoulder down the left.
No, look, the safety issues and everything else, it's just not that simple, and we wouldn't get a penny into Donegal if we didn't follow the national and European guidelines. So that's one thing that will not change. Like, same as bypasses and that, like, you have to follow it. So there's 100,000 there now to bring out the design. The problem is there seems to be a disagreement within the TAA whether this is a major safety or what it is, because as George Mullin and other transport people will tell you, we need a climbing lane and a hard shoulder separate from the cycle lane. So you need a hard shoulder and then...
Okay, but this is... I get where you're coming from, but this is bureaucracy again. We're getting bogged down in it now because we can't do one thing to try and save a cyclist's life, because at the same time then we have to do another thing. And then that requires another half of the road again. I'm sure the land isn't there. Then it's into negotiation about land acquisition and blah, 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 blah. And I don't mean this any disrespect for you. We're into the waffle territory again. Not you, but the whole system. What we're talking about here, I'll tell you how quickly that would move. God forbid if something serious happens there, things will move very quickly all of a sudden.
Well, look, let me point it out. There's between 7 and 8 people died between that location and the town. That's why the Capri roads were narrowed. It wasn't to make footpaths, it was to narrow, and that was about 3 or 4 years negotiating with the residents up there in the TAI. And now, as you say, the last part of there, and I agree, I met up there on Saturday with the Fun Wheelers and Councillor Martin Harry and myself. We have told them, we're sort of acting as liaison between them and the TAA and the council, and we've raised this at our MD meetings, council meetings and everything all the time. So we are pushing. So the last information we got there just in the last month or two is a number of suggestions has gone to the TAI nationally, not the local design office in Donegal town. They're very, very supportive of it. They find it nearly impossible to try and get an agreement. So at least the TAI this year have given them this 100,000. So the sooner we get this thing designed, then we need to push them to get the money to build it, because it's made very clear to us from the road design office in Donegal town, just because you get a design doesn't mean to say it will be built. So that's our next push. Is design.
So we're talking a minimum 3 or 4 years. Is that what we're looking at here?
No, if we can get it designed this year, then it's up to the powers that be in the government and the TAI nationally to fund it to start constructing it next year. There will be part dates and planning, but that's regular stuff. And it's not that they're new to this. They really looked at this a couple of times, even when they're doing that major 7 million job. They actually approached the contractor, wondering what it would cost to extend it up. So they do have a lot of work done. This is not new to them. They have provisional work done, and they can. But we, myself and Martin, along with Fun Wheelers, what we said is we will approach this every 2 months and keep the pressure on, because decisions are made in September, October for the following
Brian,
year.
what do you think of that?
I understand Patrick's part of he has to go with the system. The system needs to up its gear and deliver. I don't care what it takes between now and diggers on the ground, but it has to move. It has to move fast. I don't want to be coming on the air and sort of on a sad story that another accident has happened. Let's get moving. Let's get the people that can make things happen. We've been, our secretary's written to Minister Eamon Ryan's office in the Department of Transport. We're knocking on all the doors. We need the people behind those doors to just get the thing done.
Okay, let me bring George Mills in. He's council member of the Irish Road Haulage Association. We're right up against the news, George. I appreciate you taking the call, but just a brief word from you. You know, as someone working in the industry that you do, there is need for a climbing lane ASAP.
Absolutely true. Thank you, Greg, for allowing me to speak. But I have been asking for this for the last 5 or 6 years, as I have been on special policy committee meetings with Donegal County Council, and the engineers always seem to think that it's not necessary, and they use all kinds of reasons, like there's a laneway coming out there, which to me is only a laneway going into a water.
Actually, George, can you hold a second? I'll take the news and come back to you, because I think you're going to go on to some important points. And if Brian and Patrick can hold too, I'd really appreciate that. But I understand if you can't. We'll be back to you in a minute or two. It is 11 o'clock, so let's cross over now to the newsroom, get a news update from Michaela Clark. Hi, Michaela.
Hi, Greg. Good morning. The INMO is seeking an urgent meeting with senior management in Letterkenny University Hospital in light of what they say is dangerous overcrowding. It's claimed all staff have been notified that the hospital is nearing major incident level capacity. Well, the Health Minister has been told that there is an unprecedented crisis in Letterkenny University Hospital's emergency department. At one stage yesterday, 10 ambulances were backed up at the hospital's ED. The Taoiseach has said the government has no plans to expel the Russian ambassador to Ireland. Leo Varadkar believes some lines of communication between Dublin and Moscow need to be kept open to assist Irish citizens in Russia. Meanwhile, the South Donegal deputy has questioned if Ireland has done all it can amid the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. Speaking in the Dáil, Deputy Marian Harkin said Russia's invasion was premeditated and well planned. Government representatives who are due to visit America for St Patrick's Day are being urged to exert whatever influence they can on the US administration to provide solutions for the undocumented Irish. The Migration Policy Institute estimated that there were approximately 16,000 undocumented Irish in the US in 2017. Donegal-born Senator Robbie Gallagher says those affected feel isolated and forgotten. MS sufferers in parts of Donegal are effectively left stranded by a lack of accessible transport. The Swilly Mulroy MS support group says it has a number of wheelchair users who have been unable to attend the weekly support group recently due to a lack of funding for accessible transport. And during National Slowdown Day, 1,675 vehicles were detected speeding across the country. A number of detections were highlighted in Donegal. One motorist was caught speeding at 124 km per hour in a 100 km zone in Listillion, while another driver was detected travelling at 78 km in a 70 km per hour stretch in Port Hall. Elsewhere in Port Nassau, Ballyshannon, a motorist was recorded doing 90 km per hour in a 60 zone, while another driver was detected travelling at 81 km per hour in a 60 km per hour zone in Mullindrate. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Thank you very much indeed, Michaela. Right, George Mills, Council Member of the Irish Road Haulage Association. George, I appreciate your holding. Brian, it's an important conversation. I hope you don't mind holding as well. And we've Councillor Patrick McGowan with us, I believe, too. So, George, tell us why you believe, from a haulage perspective, it is so important that this is done as soon as is possible.
Well, my concern was for years that there wasn't a climbing lane there. Because the lorries are, after coming through the towns of Stranorlar and Ballybofey, there's cars stuck behind them, and the first opportunity they have to overtake would be on that brae, so they would be. That's why the traffic could proceed on normally on the top through Barnesmore Gap. So they were putting all kinds of excuses, the engineers, and saying that there was acquisition problems of the ground and there was a lane coming out and it would create more problems than it would solve. But so I couldn't understand that, and I had the support of all the councillors, and I really appreciate Patrick McGowan there, and Michael Norton also supported, and Martin Harley and the rest of them. I think I had 100% support from the elected members. But for some reason or another, the engineers were disagreeing with us, and we can't understand it. Like, if a lorry's stuck behind a slow lorry going up that hill, he still can't get past that lorry until he's at Biddy of Barnes, and because of the continuous white lines, almost for the rest of the. And
also too, because George, we've started this conversation talking about cycling, and Brian McElhenney, spokesperson for the Finn Wheeler Cycling Club. Now, if you're a lorry driver and you're heading towards Donegal town, you might get sight of a cyclist halfway up that brae. There must be occasions when these cars that you talk of, their vision is blocked because they're behind your vehicle, probably right up the back of it. And as soon as they stick the nose out, away they go. And you've got maybe a vehicle coming down the way. So you've got the vulnerable cyclist, you having to plan for this climb, the motorist going up the hill, and perhaps another motorist, bus, or lorry coming down the other hill. You can see how it's a recipe for disaster there.
Absolutely, and John McLaughlin put it very well, that the truck has to drop gears in good time before he can contemplate even overtaking the cyclist. It's different for the car, that they can just nip out and then quickly, but the truck will be stuck there. And also, if they just put a hard shoulder there, that's okay. The cyclist can go in and be a little safer. But out of courtesy, the trucks will also go in on that hard shoulder to let impatient cars pass.
It will effectively become a climbing lane if it's just a hard shoulder.
And that's actually illegal. I know truck drivers who have been fined for driving on the hard shoulder, and they're only driving on the hard shoulder out of courtesy to other road users. And the other road users there are people going to hospital appointments in Sligo or Galway or whatever, and we don't want to be keeping them back. And we just can't. I can't for the life of me. There's waste ground on both sides of that road there. It's not as if we're going through anybody's gardens or anybody's private house, or anybody is going to have massive compensation for losing property. And I was also even thinking, although I'm totally not an expert, that if you looked at a map, I wonder if you push the road further to the other side, you would straight away have your climbing lane on the original left-hand lane.
And it would straighten out that sort of chicane
one of the
almost.
bends.
Yeah, exactly.
It would straighten out one of the bends. It might make the other bend more acute, but it should be looked at.
So you're welcoming the €100,000 to look at the combination of climbing lane, hard shoulder. Would you prefer to wait for it to be done right?
Well, I want it done right whenever it's done, but I don't think we should be delaying it.
Yeah.
That's one thing for sure. It's a very, very important project to proceed as quickly as possible.
All right, George,
And
listen, thanks.
I think that the ground itself also is hard ground, and that was pointed out to me by hauliers as well, that live up there. And like Bernard Long and those, they said, that ground there, you just clear it and you lay your road on it because it's not even bog or anything, it's hard ground. So the whole job should be easily done and not that expensive, and we should look at all ways of doing it, but the main thing is get started. I don't see why anybody should be holding it up. Thank you.
Okay, George, listen, well spoken as always. So Brian, we're in one of those rare situations that we have various road users singing off the one hymn sheet, which has to be welcomed.
Yeah, I welcome the support from the various the road haulage people. Normally there's an opposite relationship, but it's a common trend, and it's great to see the support. And it's obvious, it's so obvious. And you, as a car driver, me as a cyclist, and lorry men, we're all sort of see the same thing. There's a danger, there's a risk. We need to get the engineers and the people that have are in position to do the right thing and get this moving on. Let's get it done speedily, and let's get the hard shoulder climbing lane or whatever it is, conscious of all users, done, and let's move on.
And you've a continuing role in that, Councillor Patrick McGowan. At least at local level, you'll be keeping the pressure on.
Yeah, well, we're grateful for Councillor McGowan and Councillor Harley coming along on Saturday to support our launch of the signs at Millbrae, and we did say to them on the day, we'll be back in a month, 2 months, we'll be looking for updates. We're not launching a campaign and then wait until the next election to see what happens.
But in a way, I think those signs are actually they're useful warning signs as well. Councillor McGowan, you're making that commitment to keep this high on the agenda?
Oh yeah, look, that's what myself and Councillor Hardy said on Saturday. Like we're advising them that you just don't start a campaign, have a big day out, and then forget about it. Like every 2 months or so, and particularly coming up in September, October, these decisions have been made in Dublin. But we know we have the full support of the council, the Roads SPC, and the National Roads Design Office in Donegal Town. The problem seems to be trying to get an agreement. What option to go with? Is it hard shoulder in the zone? Is it cycle in the zone, or is it a combination hard shoulder?
Well, there's $100,000 there now to try and figure it out. So.
Yeah, well, look, exactly, and that's why it's there. But as I say, to see the diggers on the ground, we will need substantial funding come October, November. So that's what we all have to aim for.
That's what we have TDs for as well. Presumably they'll take an interest in this as well. Listen, thank you very much indeed for holding, and I appreciate your time, but it's an important issue. Councillor Patrick McGowan, we appreciate it. Brian McElhenney, spokesperson for the Finn Wheeler Cycling Club. Appreciate your time this morning too.
Thank you, Greg. And again, we'll just bring it back to the human perspective.
Dean's perspective,
Dean, and that could have been any one of us as cyclists, like tourists, leisure cyclists, club cyclists. Let's keep that in mind, that the engineers and the people that are holding this up, keep that in mind, because it's going to be too late if something serious happens again.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone is willingly holding it up, but we just need to get through the red tape. Exactly, that's it. All right.
Yeah, and
Good
thank
stuff.
you for highlighting it.
No,
and,
it's very important. It's very important. All right, Brian, listen, thanks for that. Keep us updated with that campaign. Brian McElhenney there, Councillor Patrick McGowan. We heard from Dean as well, and George Mills, and John McLaughlin was part of that conversation as well.
Text 086 60 25,000.
With passengers boarding for the holiday of a lifetime, please go woo!
Highland Radio wants to send you on the holiday of a lifetime.
Worth €10,000.
Plus $5,000 spending money. Woo!
Get your ticket now at highlandradio.com. Answer the question and start packing. Start packing.
Woo-hoo! Draw takes place April 14th on the 9 till noon show.
Get your ticket early and enter a bonus draw for an extra week's holiday in Turkey.
Two for the price of one.
Start planning your ultimate getaway. Only on Highland Radio.
As you start rediscovering Northern Ireland again, we want you to explore with confidence. That's why we've introduced the We're Good to Go industry standard for tourism and hospitality businesses. So you know they've agreed to follow COVID-19 safety guidelines, like social distancing, following the recommended cleaning processes and undergoing spot checks, so you can enjoy your break to the full. Look out for the safety symbol for businesses that are good to go. Northern Ireland, we're good to go. Brought to you by Tourism Northern Ireland in partnership with UK national tourism bodies.
Visit Derry and experience a world of difference just over the border. See the historic walls, the waterfront and the famous chill-off licences at Da Vinci, White House, Culmore, Hatmore and Shantallow, which for some reason have suddenly become the #1 attraction. So visit Derry and leave with more than just memories. Please drink responsibly. See drinkaware.ie.
Save hundreds of euros on custom charges shopping online with Space Hub Derry. We provide a full virtual office address mailbox service for all your business and personal use. Save your business hundreds, possibly thousands on custom charges with Space Hub Derry. Call 048 7187 8077 for more details.
Radio. Niall Donoghue is the INMO, the Irish Nurses and Midwives Organisation Industrial Relations Officer. Thanks for joining us, Neil, I beg your pardon, Neil Donoghue. Thank you for joining us, Neil.
Thanks very much for having me on.
Right, now your organisation is seeking an urgent meeting with senior management at Letterkenny University Hospital. Are you making this appeal off the back of representations being made to you by your members?
Absolutely. Our members in the hospital at the moment are under extreme pressure. I think everybody's aware at the moment, it has gone out in the media that there's a number of ambulances queuing up outside the hospital, 10 ambulances at one point with patients waiting for care. Now that's only a very visible symptom of the internal problems in Letterkenny. They're under extreme pressure. Now they have been persistently for the last couple of years since the onset of COVID, but it really is in crisis at this point in time.
What are your members telling you? What are they reporting to you that's made you take this action?
Well, their morale is exceptionally low at the moment. I mean, they're completely overwhelmed. They're burnt out. They don't feel that they can cope with what they're experiencing at the minute. They have a very deep concern for the patient safety and for patient care. They're saying, these delays with the ambulances and for the delays for other patients who are waiting inside, there's a serious potential for compromised care there and a serious potential for an adverse outcome for a patient, and that's not something that they want to see.
No,
they
obviously
want to provide the highest standards, but it's just not really achievable at this point in time.
So, Neil, obviously, it's one of many hospitals around the country, but it seems to be a particular problem in this one and perhaps a couple of others. Is it easy to identify what the key problems are? Is it not enough staff? Is it how the hospital is being run? Or, what is the problem here?
I think, and our members report this persistently, that it seems to be a perfect storm. Okay, there's a number of factors that are impacting on pressure. There's a hospital capacity issue. Staffing, Letterkenny has recruited a lot of staff over the last year, but retention is a problem now because of the persistent difficult working conditions. So, at this point in time, we've actually thought that management would declare an emergency because it's not the norm. This is not the usual flow issues. We do believe that in the longer term, and sales have confirmed this, the capacity is a serious problem that's going to be addressed, but that requires investment. That's something that has been identified in Letterkenny for years, but it never seems to have happened to the extent of what's actually required. And we just have to ask the question, when is that going to happen? It's all too often that we see Letterkenny in the media because of these very extreme pressures. They're persistently in the top 3 when it comes to overcrowding, and when is that going to change? So serious investment is needed here for the hospital.
But I think, for a key figure in an organisation like the INMO to say that, an emergency should be declared, that must mean things are really, really perhaps worse than people might have thought.
Well, things are pretty bad. I mean, to see 10 ambulances waiting outside, this is an emergency service, but they're not able to get in the doors of the emergency department. That is pretty extreme. And it's something that has to be addressed. Now, in the short term, I mean, what we're seeking very plainly is that management will take all opportunities in order to expedite the discharges. The difficulty is they're telling us that a lot of the patients in the hospital are genuinely very sick. So that they're reaching a roadblock on that. So the public need to be aware. You know, there are other services. We know that management have issued out a notice to the public that where it's appropriate that they would use the GP service.
Yeah, but that's a problem in and of itself, Neil, in that people are reporting to us on a regular basis that they have difficulty seeing a GP or an out-of-hours service and end up, because obviously they're themselves or the loved ones, they're worried, they feel they have no alternative but to turn up at the ED.
Absolutely, and that needs to be looked at in terms of the patient experience, right from the GP services all the way through the hospital and to discharge and the home supports, because it's clearly not working in Donegal at this moment in time, and it doesn't appear to have worked well at all, especially since the onset of COVID. And
we also have to look at if there's more people than perhaps should be in there that are particularly sick. I mean, maybe there's a wider examination that I know we have an older population. I know the hospital is inclined to see more than its share of people presenting with respiratory illness. This is outside of the COVID situation. But, you know, if this is an ongoing thing, then capacity has to be looked at urgently, but looking forwards to the medium and long term, like if it's to be a fit for purpose service.
That is correct. I mean, they have to look at what's going to work in the longer term or medium term, but at this moment in time, it's all hands on deck. And we do know that management are depending greatly on staff who are already burnt out, seeking that they will come in and work extra shifts, trying to hold the service together, and that's just making it more and more difficult to retain staff who really are at their wits' end with this.
What is the turnover like there? I'm not expecting you to have official figures or timelines, Neil, but you mentioned about recruitment, and we know they haven't had a single application for 9 consultants posts that have been advertised now for quite some time, which is very remarkable in and of itself. But are people literally arriving up, they've seen the booklet, it looks good, and then going, hold on a second, I can't do my job to the best of my ability in this environment? Is that what's happening?
I think that's definitely a big part of it. Even before people will go to an area for employment, they're likely going to do a little bit of research themselves and see what it's like. And, you know, really what we want to see is that people will have confidence in going to the area, but it's going to require investment. Like we said, at this moment in time, it has to be all hands on deck, and that's the priority. You know, protect the public, make sure the staff are well supported. But in the longer term, there really needs to be drastic measures there in terms of investment into Letterkenny Hospital, and to look at the services in the community to make sure that they're well supported to keep the pressure off Letterkenny Hospital.
You've sought this meeting, right? But I mean, there's an immediate concern for your members, and of course that then obviously there's concern then for the impact this is going to have on the quality of care. Despite the best efforts, you know, it's a very difficult, clearly working environment to do the job to the best of your ability. What options are left to you to represent your staff and the patients, of course, to escalate this if it's required? Because the picture you're painting is it's one we're familiar with, but it's bad. So what next? You know, you meet with senior management, they kick responsibility up the chain a little bit, blah, 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 blah. But, I mean, is there any other options open to the INMO?
Yeah. Well, in terms of what we're seeking, and when we believe that an emergency needs to be declared, I mean, that is to make the public fully aware of what pressures the system is under. But also, at a point in time last year, Letterkenny did issue out a notice seeking that any available nursing staff will come from other areas, whether it be agency, whether it be other Selda hospitals that may not be under the same pressures, and that they'll be given support in coming to Letterkenny to do that, whether it be through accommodation, stuff like that. I do believe it's at an extreme at this moment in time based on what our members are describing. And it doesn't look like it's going to resolve in the next couple of days. You know, it's the same small cohort of staff that are literally carrying the weight all the time. Management are under extreme pressure, and it's just going to require that all hands on deck approach in order to get through this. And then once that's done, it definitely needs to be reviewed to see what is actually required to prevent recurrences, because it's not the first time that Letterkenny Hospital has found itself in this situation, even in the last couple of years. Is
seeking the management to declare an emergency a little bit like sort of, turkeys voting for Christmas, if you get where I'm coming from. And I'm not being in any way flippant. It would be an admittance, would it not, that they've lost control of the situation?
Well, I mean, one way or another, if you have ambulances waiting outside an emergency service, it means that they're not able to provide that emergency service in the time frame that it's really required. So something needs to be done here to prevent that from happening. Okay. And again, the people who are waiting internally, we're perfectly aware at this moment in time that the hospital is absolutely at capacity. They're not able to take on much more. The staff are not going to be able to keep up this pace forever, so urgent support is going to be needed. All
right, and very finally, is it a case that there's still staff out sick, or there's just simply not enough staff to absorb a general level of people not at work that would expect to be there? Like, is there a particular issue in terms of staff being off?
I think it's all of the above. But,
as well as that, Neil, too, you'd probably be familiar with this. I was looking at statistics. It's going back 3 or 4 years ago. But in terms of those that are off because of pressures of work, the mental pressures of work, one of the highest levels in this part of the world. I can only imagine that situation is worsening, given the picture that you paint, Neil. Thank you for your time this morning. I really appreciate it. We'll obviously keep an eye out to see what management's reaction is to your calls. But it's an important conversation and an eye opener, I think, for a lot of people. Neil, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, Neil Donoghue there, INMO Industrial Relations Officer. He's seeking a meeting with senior management at Letterkenny University Hospital in light of what he describes as dangerous overcrowding, and he's calling on management to declare an emergency so that other things can kick in terms of seeking staff from elsewhere or whatever it might be. All right, that's the situation there. You are tuned to the 9 till noon show here in Highland Radio. The WhatsApp line for you, the text line, if you want to have your say, is 086 60 25,000. And if you want to give us a call, you know what to do. Caroline taking your calls on 07491 25,000. It's Wednesday, so we've got Business Matters, the business news coming up before 12 with Kieran. And we have a couple of guests in studio now that some of you might be inspired to listen to and make some changes in your life.
New this week in Home Store and More. All bath mats are half price. But better hurry, because when all our half price bath mats are gone, they're gone. Also, all our plant pots and garden planters and all our frying pans are still half price. But when all our half price plant pots and garden planters and all our half price frying pans are gone, they're definitely gone. Order online before 2 p.m. for next day delivery or drop by your local Home Store and More. Home Store and More. A happy home.
I am an artist and my medium is root vegetables.
Dawn, chef.
I optimise for search engines so you don't have to.
Claire, digital marketing executive.
What Heaney did with words, I do with table plans.
Francis, events and promotions manager. They've all been explaining their jobs in their own words on behalf of Northern Ireland's tourism and hospitality industries. Discover hundreds of amazing opportunities in tourism and hospitality right now when you search careerscope.uk.net/NI. Explain them any way you want.
Local Enterprise Week is back to help your business get the wind in its sails. Running from Saturday the 5th to Friday the 11th of March, Local Enterprise Week is organised by Local Enterprise Office Donegal. Chart a clear path for your business by getting advice on marketing, leadership and recruitment. Also on networking, exporting, finance and much more. Booking is essential. To see the lineup of events and speakers and to book, visit localenterprise.ie/Donegal or call 9160735. Supported by Enterprise Ireland, Donegal County Council and the Government of Ireland.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Now, our Wednesday, Wellness Wednesday, falls on today, which is Ash Wednesday, a day when people give up, amongst other things, smoking. So we talk today to Fiona Boyle, Smoking Cessation Coordinator with the HSC. Thank you so much for joining us, Fiona.
You're very welcome.
It's great to have you in with us. And also we are joined by Michael Pertl, who is a former smoker. Michael, how are you getting on?
Not too bad.
Tell us why. No, it's good to have you with us. Tell us why you wanted to stop smoking. I mean, it is obvious, but it's not obvious for everyone. Does it for different reasons?
Yeah, I was actually talking to Fiona earlier on about this, and there was no specific reason I wanted to go off them. Obviously, they're very expensive at the minute. I was looking this morning. I'm off them for 147 days now since, and I've saved €3,048. That's a huge amount of money.
But you're probably no richer, and I'm not.
No, well, when you look,
do you know the way it is? It goes into that black hole of living, but at least you're paying into other things rather than smoking.
Absolutely. I mean, I was driving past and the fuel prices there this morning. So,
yeah.
But and then obviously when you're getting a bit older, health wise, it's not a good habit. So there was a number of reasons why I wanted to go off them.
Yeah. What was you've been smoking by my notes here for 20 years? Was it on and off? Did you always try and sort of pack it in, and then for one reason or another we find reasons to go back to the habit, or what was your story?
Yeah, I was off them once sort of before for a long time, and that was using the Stop Smoking service. I actually visited Fiona a number of years back, and she helped me to get off them, and I was off them for I think around 8 months, and I was out one night and I decided to have one cigarette because I thought, I'm off them now, I can have one cigarette. And then the next morning I woke up and I still had the box in my pocket, and away I went, and I was back on them for years again. So I decided I knew exactly what I had to do. Fiona,
did the 8 months that you were off them and then relapsed or going back smoking again, did that discourage you from trying again? Did you go, oh, well,
No, I was actually probably the opposite. I knew exactly what the Stop Smoking service was. I knew how it helped me to get off them. I knew how it made it much more easier. So I was definitely more confident coming back to Fiona the second time.
All right, Fiona, you've helped a lot of people, you and your team, over the years. Tell us why this has such a high success rate.
I suppose we identify with the client what their reasons are for smoking in the first place, and also the reasons for stopping. We very much support them both with the addiction side of tobacco use, but also the habit and the emotional attachment. And very much a big part of our role is also identifying the correct treatments that clients should use for their level of addiction.
I'm not sure it's called it, but there's an element of counselling there in it as well.
Absolutely.
People are being faced with, well, why am I doing it? What's in it for me? Why do I want to stop? And talking that through is part of the process then, isn't it?
Very much so. And I suppose because around 90% of people who smoke actually would have started as a teenager, that's around the time when we're learning how to deal with life, how to use those emotions. And whenever they're triggered, it's like, what do we do instead? Yeah. And if we're a tobacco user, then the chances are we're going to smoke if it's positive emotions, negative emotions. So it is a big part of our work would actually be working a strategy with the client as to how to deal with those emotional situations without tobacco.
Yeah, and we were conditioned to smoke too. I've gone through this stage of watching 90s films, and they just chew cigarettes the whole way through the films. You know what I mean? And it's always the maybe it's the tough guy, or it's made sexy for a girl, whatever the mess. But it was all done by purpose. A lot of money went into this product placement and stuff. So we're chipping along and being conditioned to do it, and then you hit 30 or 40 or 50 and you go, right, okay, I need to stop this. So tell us about then the how you help people. So we've talked about the initial conversation, so that gets people talking.
So we find out from the client why it is they want to stop. So it's very important for you to have a reason to do it. Because as with anything in life, and especially with an addiction, if you don't have a strong enough reason, then the chances are you're going to relapse quite quickly, or you mightn't get to the stage where you actually get quitting in the first place.
So you don't rush people into it then?
No. So we have varying degrees of clients who come to us. So as long as somebody is interested in stopping smoking at some stage, ideally over the next month, then that tends to be when they're at a higher motivation level. Then we will certainly work with clients, yeah.
And still 1 in 5 adults smoke?
It's 18% at the moment, 16% smoke daily and 2% socially.
Yeah. So that's still a significant amount of people, isn't it?
It is a significant amount, but having said that, there's actually more quitters now than there is tobacco users.
There is, but unfortunately there's, a lot of young people are consuming nicotine through vapes and what have you, and we heard from the Royal College of Surgeons in relation to that, and, it is not a big step to go from ingesting nicotine via vape to smoking, and there are, I think, in certain cohorts some increases, unfortunately.
Absolutely. And I think you alluded to it earlier, Greg, in that the tobacco industry was very much in cahoots with Hollywood way back in the 30s, 40s. So
but it's only looking back you realise it. It's like so blatant. I was watching a film with Mel Gibson. It was like one out, one in, one out, one in.
Yeah.
Lighting fires with cigarettes. You know what I'm on about? And you're thinking, wow, I was watching that, and you know what they were doing,
So then the tobacco industry now, because they own most of the e-cigarette manufacturing companies, so they're doing the exact same, because there's less restrictions on them in relation to advertising and the product placement as well.
Yeah, and you'll see on TikTok or Instagram the reels now. What it is it's influencers blowing smoke rings and that kind of stuff, and they're not doing it for the good of the health. Ironically, they're doing it because they're paid to do it, and that's what our young people are being it looks cool, it's brilliant, I can do that, and so on and so forth. It's the next generation. We'll come back to that. I want to talk more about Michael, though, and how this has changed for you. Obviously, a huge financial saving, over $3,000. It's remarkable. And I know a lot of people put that away and make sure it doesn't go into the debt pot that we all have, or we all seemingly have, and take a holiday out of it or something. What else has been the benefits to you, do you feel?
Yeah, well, obviously, I mean, it's a health thing as well. I mean, I noticed that there quite recently, it was a very kind of fresh morning there, and I walked out the door and I took a big deep breath in, and it just seemed to go a bit deeper. I know that maybe that sounds a bit weird.
No,
or whatever,
I think a lot of people will get what you're saying.
But I was smoking for nearly over 20 years, and when I stopped, I was smoking 30 a day, so that's a lot of cigarettes, and it just seems that my health has certainly improved. I don't feel there's a smell. If you ever notice a smoker, there's a definite smell with them, so I don't feel that I carry around that smell with me, particularly after you have a cigarette. But just on the stop smoking service itself, for me, it wasn't a case of you just land and Fiona wants you to go off the cigarettes. It was a process that we went through. We broke down the addiction. We looked at when I wanted to smoke, and we put steps in place every time I kind of visited her. And then as we got towards my quit date, it was much more easier. So it was a sort of psychological thing, as well as the different supports. And then I used the nicotine replacement therapy. So I had the patches, I had the lozenges, and I used them just to kind of help me go off them. So it was a big approach to it. It isn't just a case of
you look at the triggers, don't you?
Yeah.
Whether it's after a cup of coffee or after something to eat, or whatever it might be.
Exactly, on the phone. There's so many triggers throughout the day. And it's only when you stop smoking you realise how many times or when you actually smoked. So it was breaking down them kind of habits, them triggers, and realising, that you have an addiction. And it is difficult to go off them, and there's support there. So why not use it?
And I think too, a lot of people would say I smoke a pack a day, which was 20, but then quite cleverly they started introducing bigger pop boxes then, so you were still on a pack a day, but you were smoking potentially 50% more cigarettes. What is this, the with your support excuse me, Fiona, it increases obviously, as Michael's been describing perfectly, people's chances of quitting, but quitting for good.
Absolutely. So I suppose, and unfortunately, most people in the country actually will try to stop smoking by themselves. Some people will try to use nicotine replacement therapy, but they often don't use adequate amounts of it, and they dismiss it quite quickly. So with our programme at the moment, we've got a 35% success rate here in Donegal of people who set a quit day. And the World Health Organization would recommend that 20% would be a good success. So ours is actually very good. But I think a big factor, and as you say, Michael has articulated very well, it's very client-centred. So it's very much at where the client is at. And for years we've had support services for other drug issues and alcohol issues, and it's only in the recent past that we've actually sort of come up to speed in relation to nicotine addiction, which is very comparable to cocaine and heroin addiction. And there's lots of services available for people who are addicted to those products. So I think the reality is that if you use combination nicotine replacement therapy, and if you come to a service such as our own, you're much more likely to be successful.
You probably don't need to see people at this stage, but with the barriers, sure. My mother smoked till she was 19, never did her any harm, or I need it because if I don't smoke, I'll get stressed, and that's worse than smoking, or I'll gain weight. Do you know what I mean? These things that we can sort of put in our way to try and kick the can down the road a little bit. You need people really to have overcome a lot of that, do they? Before you want them to be ready to go.
Well, in an ideal world, yes, but we don't live in an ideal world.
No, certainly don't.
So I suppose it's very much about getting the client where they're at. So I mean, sometimes those barriers, Greg, are put in front of us because we're lacking in confidence in our own ability to do it. So sometimes that's the things we will say almost to protect ourselves.
And that's where the support comes from.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So it's about actually looking into what does that actually mean? What does that mean to the person? So as long as they're interested in quitting and they are willing to put work and effort into it, then we're more than happy to work with them.
What are the things I mean, if you need tips that people should genuinely avoid, like Michael, in your experience, what do you think we do that we shouldn't be doing?
Well, for me, it was a case of there was no good time to stop smoking. Every time I decided, I'm going to stop next week or next month, there was a wedding coming up, there was an exam, there was some kind of something I had that I made an excuse where, I can't stop smoking now. So it's just important phone Fiona, phone the Stop Smoking service, and just get an appointment. And it's not stopping smoking next week or next month. It's at your own pace, and you can talk to Fiona, and you can hear all the success stories and what other people have done. And then the benefits of it. So I mean, just for me, accessing the service was the reason I'm off.
And I
them,
think even that structure of the right amount of nicotine replacement and when to take it, that would be, we could get lost in that a little bit, but you were saying, right, you were told this is what will work for you and this is how you have to do it. And I think that's really helpful.
Very much.
Absolutely. In and of itself.
And often we have, I often say people have, it's a bit like the weather. Everybody's got a story about tobacco in some respects as well. Either they smoke themselves or they live with somebody who smoked. But I think in relation to that as well, it's often people have used products in the past, but they may not necessarily have used the right products. And it's only in the recent past where we would be very much advocating for combination nicotine replacement therapy. So lots of people might have stuck a patch on for a couple of days or might have used a few lozenges or pieces of gum. They often didn't know how to use it correctly either.
That doesn't work for me, and we should go back to the excuse.
It was definitely something I'd done anyway. In the past, I would have used them, put a patch on thinking this is this is how it works, and I'll be off tomorrow, but no, never worked.
And you wouldn't be a big fan of addiction replacement, switching from cigarettes to vaping, for example. I know there's a different attitude, or maybe a different attitude in Britain as to there might be here, but if you're going to stop, you don't want to be necessarily replacing it with something else.
Not really. I suppose, again, go back to how the programme works. We look at the addiction side, we also look at the habit, and we look at the emotional side of it. So I would class e-cigarette more as switching rather than quitting.
Do you find, obviously your focus is on smoking, but do you find people are coming to you or inquiring at least saying, look, I'm addicted to vaping?
Oh, we actually see people who are addicted to vaping
and
on
you
the
help
program.
them too.
Yeah.
All right, brilliant. That's actually really quite important because they might feel they're in a better place but may not be okay. So that's moving with the times, no doubt. So how do people get in contact?
So they can give me a call.
It is always that simple with you, isn't it? Well, every time I ask the question, just give me a call, and she does actually answer the phone and everything.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's 087 251 4790, and we have we've got some new staff coming on board now in Donegal as well. There's also, can I just mention, Greg, as well, there's the Sláinte Care Healthy Communities programme. It's a new initiative under Healthy Ireland, and it's where people who live in Inishowen or people who live in the Gaeltacht areas are actually entitled to 12 weeks free treatment as well when they come on the programme.
Very good.
So, because that can be a barrier for lots of people in relation to the cost of the nicotine replacement therapy.
Yeah. Fiona, you are simply the best. I'm now 17 years off cigarettes. Thank you forever. I mean, that must be a lovely thing to hear, to have an impact like that. Jay did it on his own. I'm off the cigarettes 26 years. Main reason was I couldn't afford to smoke and had a young family. Best thing I ever did. But there are, when we make choices, not everyone makes that choice, and other things in the home can perhaps be neglected to make sure the cigarettes are gone.
Absolutely, and unfortunately,
and that's, people need help. Not, that's not a criticism, by the way. That's why people. That's why services like this say, well, we can help you have other options.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in case anyone think I was being critical, I wasn't.
And that's also why the Sláinte Care Healthy Communities programme came into being, because it's very much in relation to disadvantaged areas, because often we find that people who are coming from disadvantaged areas are more likely to smoke and often more likely to smoke heavier, but are less likely to be able to afford the products to help them to stop.
All right, we have Fiona's number here, and we can pass that out. Final word to you, Michael. I mean, do you sort of say, I'm off them forever, I'm never going to smoke again, or do you do it a day at a time, or what way is working for you?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of discussed this morning as we're sitting in the waiting room there. No, I feel much more confident this time that my future ahead, is as a non-smoker. That's the way I see it.
I don't think you needed to have that cigarette that you had.
No, did you see that? Did you?
No, but I'm saying I'm saying you didn't actually have to have it. You thought I can have it, but you didn't have to have it.
No, I definitely didn't have to.
It was a split-second decision kind of thing.
At that time, I went back on. That time, I thought I was a non-smoker, and that's my future. This time, I realised that I can't have cigarettes because, although I am a non-smoker, I mean, that addiction is still there. So I can still get back into it very quickly. So I do see my future as a non-smoker. Fiona, I have no doubt, will always be there supporting me along the way. So, no, it's definitely
great stuff,
good.
Michael, and it gives hope to other people that it can be done and achieved, and you can maybe slip, but get back up and continue on the journey. Fiona, obviously, whenever you come on, there's always lots of people that you've helped that text in to say thanks, Fiona, for what you and your team have done. So that's great. And Michael, you've done a great service today, I think, in showing people how it can be done and what your life can be afterwards.
Yeah, thanks.
It is Ash Wednesday. Maybe today's the day you want to at least plan to call the cessation service. We appreciate Fiona Boyle, smoking cessation officer, coordinator with the HSE, and Michael Purtle, who stopped smoking almost 5 months ago, who's used the programme in the past as well. We thank both of you for coming in.
Thanks very much.
It's been very nice having you on. All right, back after the break.
It's not just a sewing machine. For Maya, it's a chance to give her family a better life. It's not just a way to make a living. It's a chance to give her daughter an education. Like thousands of mothers, Maya lives in fear of what the future holds for her little girl. And it's not just. This Lent, your love can make all the difference. Visit trocra.org or call 1800 408 408. Trocra, until love conquers fear.
With passengers boarding for the holiday of a lifetime, please go
Highland Radio wants to send you on the holiday of a lifetime.
worth €10,000.
Plus $5,000 spending money.
Get your ticket now at highlandradio.com. Answer the question and start packing. Start packing.
Draw takes place April 14th on the 9 till Noon show.
Get your ticket early and enter a bonus draw for an extra week's holiday in Turkey.
Two for the price of one.
Start planning your ultimate getaway. Only on Highland Radio.
For all your health and beauty needs, you can always rely on McGee's Chemist in Letterkenny. If you need a prescription, just call or order online at mcgees.ie and it will be ready for you in advance before you arrive. For beauty and skin care, there's all the big names at great prices in store and online. And for your photo printing needs, simply download the McGee's Photo Prints app or click on the website link. McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. For all your health and beauty needs, and so much more. Call 91-21409 or visit mcgees.ie.
Mike Denver in concert with guests Ray Lynham and Brendan Shine at the Inishowen Gateway Hotel, Buncrana on Sunday, March 13th. Tickets at hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie. That's Mike Denver with guests Brendan Shine and Ray Lynham at the Inishowen Gateway Hotel, Buncrana, Sunday, March 13th.
With spring nearly here, it's time to get organised. It's time to spring clean. And here at Home Store and More, we have everything you need to make it as easy as can be. From storage solutions to help you get organised, to mops and buckets to make your floors sparkle. And whether it's a deep clean or just a touch-up, we have the cloths and cleaning detergents that will make everything gleam. Order online before 2 p.m. for next day delivery or drop by your local Home Store and More. Home Store and More. A happy home.
Study at the College of Agriculture, Food and Rural Enterprise this September. CAFRE is Northern Ireland's specialist agri-food and land-based college with campuses at Greenmount, Antrim, Loughry, Cookstown and Enniskillen. Discover courses in agriculture, food, horticulture, equine, floristry, veterinary nursing, land-based engineering and business. Join our virtual open week each evening on Discover CAFRE Facebook from Monday 7th of March. For event information visit cafre.ac.uk.
I'm Sam Shed, Power Tool Protector Garden Angel. A mess on the inside, but I know what I saw outside. A cat, no, a man burglar, hopped Sam's back hedge and stole his bike. He couldn't believe it, but FBD did. With no excess to pay, they'll get him back in the saddle. After all, sure, support is what FBD do. Visit fbd.ie today to save 25% on your new home insurance quote. €650 limit per theft claim for owner-occupier contents in the open cover. Specified all risks required for items over this value. Claim will affect no claims bonus. Terms and conditions apply. Underwritten by FBD Insurance plc, FBD Insurance Group Limited Trading as FBD Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Big plans won't mean big repayments with a home improvement loan from Inishowen Credit Union. Whether you're converting the attic, changing the kitchen or doing work to the garden, talk to us today. With rates starting from 6.18 APR, no hidden fees or charges and fast loan decisions, we have the perfect loan for you. Apply online at inishowencu.ie or call us on 9361017. Membership of Inishowen Credit Union is open to anyone who lives or works in the Inishowen Peninsula. All loans are subject to approval. Terms and conditions apply. Inishowen Credit Union is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Business Matters in association with Letterkenny IT's Faculty of Business. Applications are now open for the highly regarded Masters in Leadership and Innovation in the public sector. Also a Masters in Governance, Compliance and Data Protection in Financial Services, and a certificate in Online Dispute Management. Visit lyit.ie for more information.
All right, that means it's time for our Business Matters podcast preview, which means we get some news as well. We welcome into studio Kieran O'Donnell. Kieran, thanks for joining us. How are you keeping?
Good, Greg. Good morning. How are you?
Good, thank you. Right, let's start with some news here. Good news, in fact, for Fintru.
Yeah, for the second successive year, Fintru has been named as one of Europe's fastest growing companies by the Financial Times. The financial services company employs over 1,000 across Derry, Belfast, London, Maastricht and New York, and was ranked at 701 in the Financial Times 1,000 fastest growing companies in Europe. Working with investment banks around the globe, Fintru designs technology-enabled solutions to help their clients meet their regulatory obligations.
All right, some more good news. 50 jobs coming to Donegal.
Yeah, a story that's been covered, I'm sure, earlier in the week. 50 new jobs are to be created by Donegal by customer experience software developer Concentrix. The firm has offices in Dublin, Belfast and Derry, and the new positions will all be remote working roles. Globally, the company employs 270,000 people, with more than 4,300 working for it in Ireland. So the company is headquartered in California and cited the region's skilled workforce, strong education system and robust technology infrastructure for its decision to target Donegal for its latest recruitment phase.
Is it 270,000 people?
Yep.
270,000.
I actually checked it and when I went on to the web, it was 250, so it has gone off. So that's why I'm back to huge. Well, if you take it proportionally, Greg, there's almost 4,500 working from Ireland.
Yeah, so you can see I can ramp it up, but that's remarkable. I've never heard the likes. All right, now interesting stories from the world of hospitality, I suppose. We'll start with the Nesbitt Arms in Hotel, synonymous with Ardra.
Yep.
It's on the market.
It is indeed. The 3-star hotel has 49 bedrooms and was recently refurbished, Greg. It first opened to stores in 1838, and the sale is being handled by Stephen McCall of McCall McNinnis Auctioneers in Ardra.
Right, and we heard a little earlier on sad news: the Tavern Bar in Mount Charles has pulled down the shutters.
Yeah, a sign of the times, Greg. The Tavern Bar in Mount Charles closed its doors for the final time on Monday night. In a Facebook post, the O'Donnell family said that due to the ever-increasing costs and staffing issues, they are no longer able to continue in business, and they also thanked everyone for their effort.
Yeah, and I think in conversation with him earlier, it was clear that maybe he thought that the business could be supported a little bit better as well. But okay, now Donegal Enterprise Week, it is on the horizon.
Yeah, Wind in Your Sails is the theme of the 2022 Donegal Enterprise Week, which gets underway next week. Donegal Enterprise Week will be officially opened by Donegal County Council Cahirla, Councillor Jack Murray, and Minister of Agriculture, Food and the Marine, Charlie McConnell-Logue. The Donegal Strategic Enterprise Development Plan will also be launched at the official opening, and special guest for the event will be former Republic of Ireland goalkeeper Packy Bunner.
All right, okay, that's a roundup of the news from Kieran. We'll be back looking forward to the podcast after this short break.
There's a gaggle of monsters you'll see around town, in every colour from bright pink to brown. And just like us, they have hopes, dreams and wishes. A new car, new windows, a holiday diving with fishes. They know just where to go for their dreams to come true. The local credit union who can help you out too. For all of your dreams that are big, small or strange, we've got you covered with our Monster Loan range. Monster Loans from the Credit Union. Imagine more. Loans are subject to approval. Terms and conditions apply. If you do not meet the repayments on your loan, your account will go into arrears. This may affect your credit rating, which may limit your ability to access credit in the future. Credit unions in the Republic of Ireland are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Want to accelerate the growth of your new business? Entrepreneurs in Derry City and Strabane District Council areas can now apply for a new Startup Accelerator programme. Eligible participants can avail of free professional support, access to incubation facilities and business grants. The programme is open to businesses who are currently on or have recently completed the Go For It programme. To apply, contact your local Enterprise office, Enterprise Northwest or Strabane Enterprise Agency. This project is funded by the UK Government through the UK Community Renewal Scheme.
If you're tired and struggling to put a spring in your step due to COVID burnout, discover the power of Revive Active at your local Brennan's Pharmacy. Revive Active is an award-winning super supplement containing 26 active ingredients, including vitamin C, D and zinc, which support your immune system, all in one handy daily sachet. Made for busy, stressful lives, it's the convenient way to put back what life takes out. Enrich your life with the Revive Active. In store or online, click and collect from brennanspharmacy.com. We're here for you.
It's exciting times at Hillside D-Max in Letterkenny because they've moved, but not too far. Their new kitchen design studio is now open at Curralees on the other side of the Mountaintop Roundabout. This new studio showcases the latest kitchen, wardrobe and slide robe designs with D-Max renowned attention to detail and exceptional quality. Hillside D-Max, in the heart of your home since 1994. Now at Curralees, Mountaintop, Letterkenny. Business Matters in association with Letterkenny IT's Faculty of Business. Applications are now open for the highly regarded Masters in Leadership and Innovation in the public sector. Also a Masters in Governance, Compliance and Data Protection in Financial Services. And a certificate in Online Dispute Management. Visit lyit.ie for more information.
Okay, now we are in the company still of Kieran O'Donnell, and we're looking forward to the Business Matters podcast. A reminder for you, it's available on our website, highlandradio.com, or on Spotify or iTunes. Your guest this week, Mr. O'Donnell.
Yes, Mr. Hughes. On this week's Business Matters, I speak to Seamus McMenamin, owner of Mantis Cranes Ireland, Mantis Cranes UK and McMenamin Engineering. Seamus left school at the age of 16 and worked for a local engineering firm for 14 years before setting up McMenamin Engineering in 1986 in Killygordon. The downturn in 2008 prompted Seamus to look for new business, and he managed to secure major contracts in the Middle East and South America. In this clip, Seamus recalls securing a crucial overseas contract.
Biggest ever single sale we took was from Brazil. And the day I walked into an office, well, I didn't walk in, it was all planned. No, the meeting was planned. And I went in thinking I was going to get an order, hoping to get an order for 4 units, 4 cranes. And I come out with an order for 13, you know. And that was a big thing for a company from Donegal that actually, there are two things in that. It was nice already won, but it was also, there was a sense to some extent of relief that it got us through that tough, that the work we put into going over there, and that it actually it paid off.
And was it at a difficult time in the
Absolutely.
business?
That was a time when it was you know, it was month to month, maybe even week to week. I don't know, but it was a difficult time. Yeah, it was. So that's one that'll stick out for a long time. And then there's other ones as well, but each project brings its own.
Great insight there, Kieran, into another big business. It's a big one.
Yeah, Seamus, a very humble man, and look, he's seen a lot in the 36 years since he set up his business, and look, he's seen the good times and the bad times, and I suppose his ability to adapt and having to go elsewhere and look for business, and as that clip rightly explained, the size of the contract was one thing, but the timing of it was another, and that allowed him to get ready for the construction sector in the UK. Kicked off a wee bit earlier and around about 2014, and that allowed him to sort of get going again.
Yeah,
so
scale everything up.
Yeah,
and, exactly. And to say that some journey home, it must be a wonderful feeling. All right, the full interview with Seamus McMenamin is available now on our website, highlandradio.com, and on Spotify and iTunes. And as you can hear from that, it's the same as previous podcasts. You get to know a bit more about the person, the business, and the key points and along the way. Business Matters is also on air, Kieran, as well, isn't it?
Yeah, Sunday evening, Greg, after the 6 o'clock news.
All right, and if people want to get in touch with you with a programme, how do they go about doing so?
Yeah, just drop me an email, please, Greg. businessmatters@highlandradio.com.
All right, Kieran, well done as always. Thank you so very much indeed. Kieran O'Donnell, presenter of the Highland Radio podcast Business Matters. That latest episode, the back catalogue's there as well too, isn't it,
yeah.
Kieran? There's lots and lots
all
of
there.
different businesses and
all there.
different types of people. Thank you very much indeed. Right, on to some of your comments here now. A caller says, I'm just listening to your show at the moment. I've just had an experience with the ED this week. It is just devastating, to say the least. Patients lying on the floor, no trolleys, no chairs. Staff are doing their best. Absolutely appalling that one family member cannot get into the hospital to stay with their loved ones, as staff just have not the manpower to be there for them. I've heard how bad it is, but first-hand knowledge has opened my eyes. Staff are working crazy hours. Something needs to change. Another, no problem in Letterkenny Hospital if the doctors opened up face-to-face with patients instead of sending the patients straight to Letterkenny Hospital. Unbelievably true. Please look into this, Highland Radio, as politicians are deaf. We've been talking about this. The problem is it can be very different experiences in different practices or with different people's experiences, and I put this to I've been told by people's experience that this was significant, that people were having difficulties seeing the general practitioner and then felt they had no choice but to go just go straight to ED, and I put that to the hospital manager and he says that's not a particular problem. Okay, cop yourself on, Greg, says this texter. You know well you can't just go out and start digging to build a hard shoulder. There's due appraisal, design and environmental processes to be followed. If it was as easy as just starting to build without consulting anyone, it would be done long ago. You need to get real about where Donegal is ranked when it comes to funding. Another, tell that lorry driver he shouldn't use his horn on cyclists. It's very frightening. It is his responsibility to overtake when it's safe to do so. Cyclists don't always have a safe place to pull into, facilitate him not having to slow down a couple of minutes. And I think he recognises it was a controversial statement because he's made it before in this programme and got quite a few people contacting over the head of it. Letterkenny Hospital was in there a couple of weeks ago. Yes, the waiting room was extremely busy, but once you get into A&E, there was a lot of staff sitting around and nurses on their phones. We need to go back to the days when matrons and head nurses on the floor ensuring that people are doing what they're meant to be doing. But we always have to understand, are those people on breaks? Are they resting their legs? Are they at the end of a shift? Are they maybe at the end of the shift, but they've stayed on just in case? I don't know. I just really don't think there's people. This falls into that. And I'm not going to open that can of worms again. I don't think nurses are sitting down there twiddling their thumbs on their phones. That's just from my experience and my conversations. Greg, when are cyclists going to realise Donegal roads are not built for cycling? They are built for cars, lorries, tractors and motorbikes. When are cyclists going to realise there's no room on Donegal roads for cyclists? End of. Coming in from Mary Ann there. Greg, I've avoided cycling up that climbing lane because, well, it's not a climbing lane, but I take your point, because of what happened to Dean, but I will have to do it sometime. There is a side road that goes up to the left of McCrory's Brae, but it's not safe to cycle on as it's not looked after. It's in a bad state of repair. In winter, lots of debris like leaves, etc. Litter is also a danger there too. But if that road was fixed up and looked after, maybe it could be an option as a cycle lane purely for cyclists. Okay. Why can't cyclists find safe roads to cycle on? They are a serious danger on the road, says another. But, people cycle. That's their hobby. And if they want to cycle to Ballabufey to Donegal Town, are you saying they can't? I feel some of these men's clubs take a lot of chances. Do the clubs not have a duty to plan safer routes for their members? But there's no other way to go south, as far as I'm aware. Right, okay. Lots of your comments that I haven't gotten to, but they're held here in my greasy little mitt for broadcast tomorrow. So rejoin us, will you, at 9 for Thursday's show. Stay tuned today. John Breslin is on the way around the Northwest. But for me, Greg Hughes and Caroline Orr, who researched and produced the programme, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Have a great day.
New